before Josh Bosney. What'd you say?
Rolling. I was going to do that too.
That's because we're just friggin' two peas in a fucking pod.
I have come on a mission of gravest consequence. For I am the Watcher, member of an ancient race far older than man. But though our power is great, we are pledged only to watch, never to interfere. But now mankind faces the greatest danger it has ever known. The danger of
the Watchers of Earth 199,999.
Welcome to the Watchers of Earth 199,999. I am your host, Andrew, and joined, as always, is my co-host, Seth.
Always here for you. Your pleasure. Always here for your pleasure. Gross.
Our third co-host, Joe, couldn't be here today because he is busy cutting a god's hair. And our fourth co-host, Uatu, is here, but he has sworn only to watch and to never interfere.
Did you get the Samson reference? Were you like, oh man, this is brilliant?
No. I mean, I know the Samson reference, and I was aware of it as I said it, but it wasn't really a reference
like,
I was making.
Christian gods. Was Samson a
Christian
god?
You mean the real gods? Samson was not a god.
He was a...
The Christian god is one, technically.
No, it's three.
I was about to say that, but then you had to make me look like a fool.
Do you remember Mystery Men? Anyways. This is how this one's gonna go, huh? So today we watched Thor Ragnarok, which originally premiered on November 3rd, 2017, directed by Taika Waititi. Is that correct? I have no idea how to pronounce his name.
Yes, Taika Waititi.
And screenwritten by Eric Pearson, Craig Kyle, and Christopher L. Yost. Imprisoned on the planet Sakaar, Thor must race against time to return to Asgard and stop Ragnarok, the destruction of his world at the hands of the powerful and ruthless villain Hela. So, Andrew, in a sentence or less, what did you think?
Do you have, like, birds going nuts outside or something?
That's my stomach. Do you want me to close this window?
I don't know. I just, throughout all of that, I kept hearing birds chirping, and I thought I was
couldn't focus? Let me close this window so you can
focus. I thought I was losing my mind.
Anybody else hearing birds? What's wrong with me? Window closed, stomach belt tightened, so you can't hear the hunger pains.
That's what I gotta try and do. Seth.
I asked you.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and then you said, what are those, birds? And I was like, whoa, I'm so distracted now.
Well, too late. I was so distracted, so now I'm going to ask you. Seth, in a sentence or less, what did you think?
This is the one with jokes in it.
I knew that was going to be your takeaway. Is that your entire...
So in a sentence or less. This is the one I remember everybody loves. Is that true? I didn't do my Rotten Tomatoes thing.
As I'm aware, everybody loves this one.
This is the one everyone loves. This is my sister-in-law's favorite. Kirsten's students were watching Thor Ragnarok in class the other day. She said they were done with their homework, so that was okay.
I thought you were going to say she said they were dumb.
And they said they were dumb. No, and they said they really liked it, and she told them today that she was watching Thor Ragnarok tonight, and they all said, oh, you gotta let us know how it is. I think I hated this one. I genuinely do.
Wow. Okay, so I thought you were going to like this one, but I did think it was going to start off on the wrong foot for you. That beginning scene is full of, like, goofy little bits, and I was like, Seth is hating this. He is absolutely seething right now.
That's true.
Seth is seething.
Yes.
But
you can't spell seeds without Seth.
My sentence or less, this is the best Thor movie for, 7 minutes. This is the best Doctor Strange movie.
I will say this is the best Thor movie.
And keeping in the pattern of Thor movies as of yet, as this has been pointed out with each one we've done, granted this is only the third, but it was pointed out in the first, it was your takeaway with the first, and then I brought it back in the second. This is the most Marvel movie. This is the Marvelest movie we have watched yet. And when we saw Thor 2, I said that one was the most Marvel movie at the time.
Yeah, this is kind of nonsense.
But my sense or less, I really like this movie. This is the only one I've seen. Well, not the only one. This is one of the few that I've seen more than once ahead of this viewing. I thought it held up. I think it's not perfect. It's definitely disjointed. That said, I think it is the most comic booky movie we've watched, and because of that, like, it just kind of like lets things be and exist and just do whatever it wants to do, whatever it needs to be happening right now. It doesn't worry itself about the details like the other two movies do. And I think this is like the logical extension of Guardians more than anything else. This feels like a spiritual sequel to the Guardians movies.
This feels
more than
like
really a Thor movie.
Okay, so we used to always say like Ant-Man it's a comedy but with superheroes in it. The Winter Soldier is a thriller with superheroes in it. This is Guardians of the Galaxy with superheroes in it.
I mean, I would say this is a comedy with superhero stuff in it. Although I will say the superhero stuff is kind of divided from that. It's separated. No, the Thor stuff is separated. The superhero stuff is kind of throughout. It's comic booky. It's just kind of like letting a world be. And honestly, I know you're going to disagree with this statement, but I think this is the sequel Marvel movie that I think stands the most on its own. And this is like the most integrated into the Marvel universe a movie has been, while also being, I think, the one that stands the most on its own. I think you could watch this movie in a complete vacuum and it gives you all the information you need. And I say that knowing most of the information, so I may be filling in gaps here and there without realizing it. But I think like you could show this as much as you could just show the first Guardians movie to anyone. I think this could be shown to anyone and they will have all the information they need to understand what's happening without having to, like, it references other movies and stuff, but you don't need to know that. Like, even Spider-Man, I feel like you can figure out who Tony Stark and Iron Man is, I guess, but I feel like it really heavily relies on you knowing and caring who that guy is in order for his contributions to the movie to really make sense.
So I have two things before we get into it proper. My first is my infamous asterisks. I have mentioned before, burnout is real. I don't know how much of that goes into this. I'm sure there is something about this where it's just like, I think I hated this movie. Looking at my rankings, it's in the top half, which granted, you know, I was talking to Colin, I think, and they all kind of get a little jumbled.
I know every time we sit down to do one of these, you conflate all of them with each other. The fact that Incredible Hulk is not at the bottom of your list shows how much these get jumbled.
But it's just something that's like, I like Spider-Man Homecoming, I like the Guardians movies, Winter Soldier was fine. Everything below that is just kind of like whatever. There's like a middling, and then there's like, yeah, this was kind of gross.
Just to point out, because I listened to the episode that went up today, our Winter Soldier episode, and that's the one where
I know, and Seth's hypocritical
No, don't cut me off. For once in your life, don't cut me off. Because every single time you try and finish my sentence, I don't think there has ever been a single time in our entire relationship where you have been right. Don't cut me off.
That's my superpower.
What I'm saying here is that's the one where you kind of put me on the spot about my ranking system, because we go into how we rate things and 1 star, 5 star, all that kind of stuff. And that's the one where I kind of talk about how everything falls into grays and middling territory and stuff like that, and how I like the 5-point system, and you're just like, all you need is a 1, 2, and 3, and I'm like, I need more diversity than that. When you say like everything falls into a gray, like that's why I need that diversity, because granted, yours is a gray of negatives. For me, it's just like, if I only have like a 3-point scale, most things are going to fall into a 2 because they're all fine. 3 would be reserved for stuff that it's just like, I don't know, it'd have to be beyond even just like, I would watch this a second time. Which for me, like, I could love something and never feel the need to see it again.
Well, that's another reason. Like, honestly, Colin was kind of bringing up the point of like, why not just make a tier system? And I mean, with something that is limited, like these movies, yeah, there's more being made all the time, but it's not like me ranking my favorite board games or all of my favorite movies. Like
all of your favorite things, as you've been known to do.
Yeah, I try to do that, and it's very, very, very hard. But because there's a limit, I can kind of put them in a list and just be like, I like this one more than this one, I like this one more than this one. Yeah, on any day of the week, that's the problem with top 10s, and that's the problem with like, what is the best whatever, and rankings and stuff like that, because, I love Nemesis, but I'm not going to bring Nemesis out every time we're getting together to play board games. I'm not always going to be in the mood to play, I don't know, Alien Isolation, or hell, because I keep mentioning it, that I got to start playing it, Persona 5 Royal. Like,
is it Royal or Royale?
I don't care. I'm never going to play it. But I love Persona 5. I'm very excited to play Royale. But
this comes down to, is there an E at the end or not?
There's not, no.
Oh, then it is Royal. Okay.
But it's something that, like, the day just isn't there for me. It's just not the time. I've listened to a bunch of music where it's like, I go through an album once, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And then a month later, I listen to it, and I'm like, this is really hitting me now. That's just how things work.
I guess I get into things or into moods where things hit me, but generally, like I said in the past, I'm a liker of varied experiences rather than returning to something. But every once in a while, you'll send me a message, and you're just like, how good is it when you like go downstairs and eat an Oreo? It's like, because it just hit the spot. I was just like, I really am feeling an Oreo, and I ate an Oreo, and man, it hit the spot. And I'm like, I have never. # not shared experiences.
I was actually just telling that to Kirsten the other day about how I get hung up on things, and I'm just like, man, this just like, we had something, and we were talking about what we were going to have the next day, and I was like, I don't know, ever since we had that, I'm just like, it's all my brain can think of. Anyways, to get back on track here, well, actually, to not get back on track, when you were talking about the Winter Soldier episode that went up, I was thinking of it, because you had made a little offhanded tweet on it, and I was going to comment, and I was like, I don't care enough. Here we are. I feel like all of you've called me out completely appropriately of that. Like, I purge these from my brain as soon as we're done. As soon as you're like, okay, I'm going to stop recording, and I'm like, I'm just going to stop thinking. I honestly could not tell you what happened before all this stuff. When Hulk was talking about the Quinjet, I was like, why the fuck is Hulk here? And it's fine. I don't really need to know. But there was that whole thing with, like, what about Scovia? And I was like, oh yeah, that's what he was doing. And then, like, at the very beginning when when Loki was putting on the play, and I was like, when did we leave Loki last? What was he doing? And I have literally no idea. And I spend time and brain cells trying to figure that out. And I know that, I agree that, I think the movie can kind of work on its own. But because I'm going into this as, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is the universe. This is the reason why it's huge. This is what it did. This is like, these movies, to me, aren't anything super, super special without the cinematic universe. And so I try and look at them like I'm watching the cinematic universe. When we went through Power Rangers and stuff, I watched it as this is Power Rangers. I just watch it kind of like a series. And this is the next episode in the series. And so I do spend time trying to figure out those things. That's why I mentioned it in our last episode with Spider-Man Homecoming about like, when did this take place? And everyone's like, well, it says like, it doesn't really matter. And it says like fairly soon. And I was like, yeah, but as soon as I see these things, I know. I'm just like trying to place them. Or all that to say, I feel like I have these hypocritical hot takes where you made the offhanded tweet about like, Seth doesn't think friendship lasts through being frozen. And I was trying to think on it, and I was like, did I say that? Because that seems weird now.
I mean, it is not uncommon, as I have pointed out in the past. I don't know if it's been recorded in an episode, but it's been brought up in the past how you will basically, like two movies later, you will argue against yourself without realizing it.
Yes.
And you will just like completely counterpoint an argument you are making.
These are all at the seat of my pants. This is how I watch these movies. This is how I get into these things. Since it's just like, I think with a series, we watch The Almighty Johnsons. How apropos, little Ragnarok reference there, a little RR. And that's something that, like, I can watch it as a series. Episode to episode, it makes sense. I watch this as a series.
Episode to episode, The Mighty Johnsons did not make sense. That was why it was so fun to talk about.
True, but, like, what I'm getting at is the characters persisted.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it's just
it was
a
like, singular story.
Yeah, this is like, I watch this episode to episode, but it's not as persistent. And I think that kind of gets me into these hypocritical hot takes because I'm just like, as I currently am, as I stand here now, spitting fire, straight fire from the seat of my pants, and I'm just like, this is my unbridled opinion right at this exact moment in time. And then a week later, I'm just like, well, in relation to this movie, these are the problems I'm dealing with now. Hulk was whatever. We're past Hulk. Hulk's not bothering me anymore. Now, Thor Ragnarok's bothering me. But I have no idea where I am. Thor Ragnarok's asterisk is, I think there is a lot of burnout going into these movies for me. I think it is kind of hard for me to step away, and I genuinely feel like a lot of the jokes didn't hit me in Thor Ragnarok. We talked about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and at the very beginning, I was just like, this is all stupid, none of these jokes hit. And then I kind of warmed up to it by the end. Here, that wasn't really the case. So I don't know how much of that is burnout and me just being like, I don't really like this movie. But I think there is some of that kind of coming through. I will certainly say, I mentioned this is my sister-in-law's favorite Marvel movie. A lot of people love this movie. I can certainly see why. And I'm not trying to be like, this isn't real film. I'm not like Martin Patrick Swayze. I'm not Patrick Swayze and like, this isn't real cinema. I don't normally watch these things. It's not that I don't think they're going to be good. I just, whatever. But I can see why people like it. I just didn't. I agree that it's like the most comic booky. I agree that first half with the Grandmaster is just like kind of eclectic and kind of total bonkers. And it's hard to be Seth and sit down each week and watch these and watch Thor do comic booky things and Korg make witty banner and Jeff Goldblum just nail a performance and watch two CGI things fight each other and to sit there and be like, I think in another movie in another time I would like this. But like right now I don't.
Just out of curiosity, and this might not be an answerable question because we don't know, you're not experiencing it. If this was the exact same movie, beat for beat, but instead it was Bob Ragnarok, and it was a bunch of like brand new IP characters, would this movie hit you? And I know this is an answer.
It's an impossible
answerable question.
But
is it something
so.
where it's literally the fact that that connective tissue of the Marvel universe basically like hijacks your brain as soon as it begins.
I just have like so much baggage with it. We've been with this for 17 weeks, 17 movies, and it's just kind of like it's becoming rote. It's becoming like I just kind of find myself sitting there and being like, I just don't really care, and I feel bad because it definitely colors my opinion. I hope that during these episodes, I'm talking about things and I'm liking things and I'm bringing good points of view and conversation to it. My goal is not to just be like, I know everybody likes these Marvel movies, but they're all pieces of shit and so are they. That's not my goal at all. Like, I can see why people like it. I can see why people would think the jokes are funny. It's just like, it feels so weird. It feels, we've mentioned this before, it feels so commercial and like, again, 17 movies in, it's like, I'm ready to move on.
I agree. Like, I don't know. I agree to a point, kind of like the same way you agree to me, where you're like, yeah, I see why people like this. I see why you say that. They are commercial. They are, and that's not movies by committee.
Thing. It's just like,
but like at the same
right
time,
now.
I will say this one more than any of them. Like we had talked about Ant-Man and how it was going to be a movie by Edgar Wright, and you can see glimpses of what he probably was going to do in it before he left the project. This feels like a Taika Waititi movie. It's got his sense of humor and his kind of flair all over it. And while I do agree that this is another Marvel movie and it has all those another Marvel movie things to it, this one feels like it's starting to break out of that mold. And as we go, I kind of remember these doing that a little more, but they all are still Marvel movies. And so you're still going to see that. And I think this is the one that breaks that mold the most.
Well, and to touch on what you said, the only other Taika Waititi movie I've seen is What We Do in the Shadows. I thought it was fine. I thought it was like maybe a little long. Maybe it didn't stick.
I did not love What We Do in the Shadows. I
liked
think it has
a lot of fun jokes and like small little vignettes. But then it feels like something that's like, these are funny ideas, but it's not a movie worth.
I didn't care to watch the series, which I've heard is good, but the movie felt like something that was either more interesting as a short or more interesting as a series that didn't need to have like a story. And I think that's where the movie kind of fell apart, was when it was a story. But I mean, the only other movie I've seen of his is that I know was his, I feel like there was something else I've seen, was Jojo Rabbit, which I quite
I've heard
liked.
Is very good, but I
also didn't love as much as I expected to.
And I've seen the In-Betweeners. I don't know what episodes he's done, and I haven't seen the In-Betweeners in so long. I've seen Flight of the Conchords. I don't know what episodes he's done. But either way, I just, I'm wondering if this was the first Thor movie, I would probably love it. Because I didn't have all this baggage. So, going into my second point before we get into the movie proper, which should hopefully be a little shorter, who is your favorite hero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
In the Cinematic Universe?
Yeah. Like, who's your favorite character in these movies? When we sit down and watch, when we're sitting and watching the next Avengers movie, who are you like, hey, there's that guy, I love that guy. Yeah, get him. Like, when we're getting into the next movie and you're like, hey, this is my favorite character's movie. Yeah. Like, who is that?
That's a really difficult question to answer.
So I'll jump in. I'll let you
think.
Unless you want to go.
No, go ahead.
Because I'm
going to mull it over for a bit.
We've talked about this too. And maybe it's a cop-out answer. Black Widow interests me. And I asked Kirsten the same question when we finished. And she was saying, like, I mean, Black Widow's interesting, but we don't know anything about her. And I think that's fair. And maybe that's what helps, is that, for lack of a better phrase, she hasn't been ruined. That's very harsh. That's way harsher than I need it to be. But, like, I don't know. I don't care about Thor. I don't care about Asgard. Thor's whole thing is just like, you're the king of Asgard. And he's like, no, I'm not. I want to be on Earth. And then he's like, okay, well, like, you're the king of Asgard. And he's like, let me be on Earth. And then they're like, okay, well, you're the king of Asgard. And he's like, oh, okay. We've already talked about Iron Man. We've already, like, Captain America's fine, but his thing is that he doesn't need a character. He is him. You know, he doesn't need that arc.
I mean, the easy question to answer is, who do I not like? And it's Iron Man.
Sorry.
He fucking sucks. And it's one of those things where I think the question depends either on your specific phrasing and how I interpret that phrasing in that moment, and I think it kind of depends on my mood, because honestly, like, if you ask me my favorite superhero,
it's very easy.
I would say I have different answers based on exactly how I want to answer that question. I think the best superhero is Superman. I think my favorite superhero is probably Spider-Man. But honestly, everything I like about Spider-Man, Kamen Rider Forze does a little better. And so I really like that. I mean, when you get into it, like, I think, while I haven't read a lot of them, I love Dick Grayson and Nightwing, because I think he embodies everything that is interesting about comics that comics don't want to do. He's a legacy character. He grows over time. He's in my list of favorite superheroes because of those factors. And honestly, it just comes down to the day of the week you're asking me and exactly how you phrase the question on how I answer that.
But what I'm getting at is, it's easy in that there's a ton of options. And I get that's because comics are huge. There's a million comics out there. There's a million comics of Nightwing. There's a million comics of Superman. There's a million different versions of Nightwing. There's a million different versions of Superman. And we have a much smaller sample size.
And I think in this, like, if you put a gun to my head and asked me, like, who's my favorite? Who am I most interested in?
Who gets you most excited?
It's hard. It's probably Captain America, even though I don't think him showing up in a movie doesn't really interest me. I think he just, like, embodies a lot of the things that I find interesting, and he's the least, like, problematic in these. Like you said, Black Widow's interesting, but, like, when I sit down with it, like, I'm excited to see her show up in movies because she's always cool to watch. She has fun stunts. She's competent.
She feels consistent. She feels
she does a lot of interesting things, but, like, she also, like, there's not a lot to her.
She hasn't
good
had
or
arc.
bad.
Yeah, the only art she's had is where she's just like, I'm going to let out all my secrets. And that's it. And there's not really any ramifications to that.
And I'm interested in her upcoming movie, but I'm also like, I don't know, like, I don't really care about what that movie's doing. I just care about seeing her again.
Whenever she's on screen,
is that movie going to be anything, or am I just going to sit there and watch it and be like, okay, now Black Widow's not interesting anymore? Because it's also like the thing about Wolverine, like, that movie takes place before these movies take place. I don't know exactly when. It might take place post Avengers, I'm not sure, but it takes place
Wolverine
somewhere in the middle or before these movies. So it's going to be some type of origin to some degree. You learn about her past and stuff, and it's like, that's fine, but I don't care. I don't need to see that. And all that does is remove some of the intrigue.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I mean, they're weirdly like horror monsters, where it's like they're more interesting when you don't see them.
Based on this movie alone, I think Thor is really fun in this movie, but he's in 4 other movies where he's not.
And this feels like a very different Thor.
Paul Rudd's Ant-Man could be interesting. He's fun enough in his movie. His powers are fun. Mm-hmm. I'm excited, like, when he shows up in, like, I'm excited to see him show up in another movie. I was excited to see him show up in Civil War, but he's not something that really gets my blood pumping. I love Spider-Man, but out of all the different versions of Spider-Man, this movie version of Spider-Man hits a lot of things I like about Spider-Man, but like we discussed last week, it does a lot of things I really don't. And honestly, I think on the broader scale of things, it's kind of a bastardization of the character. It has most of what I like about it. It's not ruined, but it's muddied with other crap, and it's all cinematic universe stuff. So when you say, like, which MCU character do you love, it's not Spider-Man, because specifically the MCU stuff is what makes him less interesting to me.
And I think that's kind of my problem going into these movies, is that, you know, you ask me that question of, you know, who's your favorite hero in the MCU, and it's just like, I don't really care for any of them. Tony Stark's kind of a dick. Doctor Strange is kind of a dick. Captain America is, like, fun enough, but I just, like, I don't know. Like, these movies just aren't exciting me. And the characters aren't exciting me. And I just kind of, like, watch Thor Ragnarok, and he feels kind of like a different Thor. He feels like a Thor after Guardians. You know, not that Thor didn't have jokes or anything, but, I mean, everything just kind of feels, like, focus grouped. And it's I mean, it's hard to watch like 17 of these movies out of however many more we have and just be like, oh, who's your favorite? And then have to like think on it. Or give a cop-out answer of Black Widow. And it's like, I know she hasn't really done anything, but like she does exciting things on screen. Like she does cool fight stuff. She does cool like spy stuff.
I think gun to the head, Black Widow is my answer. Like if I had to make a choice here and now, Black Widow is my answer. But it's like you said, it's like when we did Power Rangers and we talked about Lost Galaxy. You had asked me like if you could have one, if you had control of the next episode and you could pick one character to do something like to watch, like which one would you want? And it was really hard to pick because they're all nothing, and we had two different answers, and my answer was based solely on what I would do with that character, whereas you were like, but they're not going to do that, and they don't do that with that character. And it's just like, yeah, then I guess no. And that's kind of the thing with like Black Widow. I'm most interested to see Black Widow show up again because she's always going to have
for a movie.
Yeah, she's always going to have fun stunts, but like I feel like does she deserve a movie? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Like this is not to say she doesn't deserve a movie. I am excited to see that movie, but I'm also just like I feel like it's just going to turn her into another person who's just like they show up and do fun stunts and that's it.
They're it's like a monkey's paw. It's like, oh, I really like Black Widow. Well, then here's your Black Widow movie. Damn it! Like, now I'm just gonna be like, she's just another focus grouped. I don't know.
Especially because she does, and it's like Wolverine. Wolverine gets his own solo books, but he's most interesting when he's part of a group where he gets to work off of other characters. And Black Widow is most interesting when she's in a movie with someone else. She's most interesting in Age of Ultron with her relationship with Bruce. She's really interesting in Winter Soldier with how she interacts with Steve and being a spy and, you know, dealing with her past and stuff. Like all that stuff is
interesting.
Really interesting and engaging. But I don't know if that stuff could hold a movie. And could she hold a movie? Absolutely. I read Mark Waid's Black Widow run with Chris Samney. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And it deals with a lot of stuff it looks like the movie is going to do, but it feels like the movie is probably just going to turn her into another quip machine with 3 other quip machines who all do flips.
You know, we've mentioned before about event books. I think it's an interesting thing to think about it as Waid and Samney's Black Widow run, or anybody's run for the most part, and be like, there's really good stuff in there, and it looks like they're doing that for the movie. But the problem is like, you know, you look for those comparisons and you say, okay, you have the Black Widow limited series, you have the Black Widow movie. You have the Captain America limited series, you have the Captain America movie. You have Avengers. You have your event, you know, you have Avengers, well, I guess it's Captain America Civil War, but that's an event. You have your Civil War event. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe is like kind of the whole event, especially now, like especially coming from Thor Ragnarok, where Doctor Strange is in it.
It's the Infinity Saga.
Yeah, like you know, you can sit there and be like, it looks like the Black Widow movie's kind of taken a lot of this cool stuff that they're doing with Waid and Samney did and her series, but it's gonna need to, how's it gonna tie into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? How's it gonna, you know, overlap that stuff? You know, it's not gonna be, this is a Black Widow story.
How's Hawkeye gonna show up?
Yeah, like, when's Hulk gonna get there so they can smash? Like, it's not gonna be a Black Widow movie that's defined around her and dealing with her things. It's going to be like, what's a huge thing Black Widow can be a part of? And I would love to be wrong.
You might be, because it does feel like post-Infinity Saga,
they're kind of finding footing.
The movies are trying to be like, what can we do now that we don't have the threat of Thanos looming and like having to tie everything together anymore? And so things can just kind of split off in their own directions, because like even this movie ends somewhere interesting and then immediately in the mid-credits it's just like, never mind, it's part of the stuff now.
See, and I guess I even still felt with, granted Doctor Strange wasn't even really in this, but with Doctor Strange and Hulk and Loki, and Loki's a little different too because he's kind of more of a part of this. Essentially, Thor and Hulk felt like they're part of this. And it didn't feel like this is just part of Hulk and Thor's story. It felt like this is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe story.
Yeah.
Like this is a part of a whole.
Something in its defense, which, I mean, as we're very closely looming onto my big tirade on these movies, but in this movie's defense, or in the cinematic universe's defense, I like the idea of a universe that is consistently moving forward, that things keep changing and events from other movies have fallout in these movies. Not that I need everything to tie together, but it's neat to see like theoretically, like, S.H.I.E.L.D. falls in Winter Soldier. When you get to Avengers, or let's say the Black Widow movie, or what, like, they don't do this. Like, it doesn't go anywhere. But, like, let's say that is something that affects it. And one of the neat things about Homecoming was seeing how, like, the fallout of other movies kind of affect the world. You kind of see how the world continues on with the event of, like, an alien incursion and the Avengers and stuff. That stuff is really interesting. And it was one of the things that in the Ultimate Comics line that I found really interesting. Once they just kind of said, fuck it, the Ultimates line has very strict continuity and we are just going to have everything tied together. Like, they had a civil war that involved the entire United States, like, being, like, divided up into zones, and, like, Captain America became president, and it was, like, crazy.
I remember President Cap.
And, like, was it good? Not always, but it was, like, wild, and it was just, like, a universe where things continued to just, like, happen. And that kind of, like, Spider-Man dies and he's dead, and, like, the world just continues moving on, and that kind of stuff was really fascinating. And that's the kind of stuff that I hope the movies do. And that's what I was always, like, interested in. But it's always real safe. It's always, like, you can have your big thing, but it can only really happen to either the small characters that don't matter, or the characters who are acted by people who, you know, they have 2 movies left in their contract, and then they're out. And that kind of stuff, like, that's the big missed opportunity of the universe. And like I said, like, this movie ends somewhere interesting, but it immediately screeches to a halt so that they can be like, whoa, we got an Avengers movie coming up. Thanos is here.
Well, and, I mean, like I said before, I think some of that persistence in the quote-unquote series that is the Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of falls into play, where, yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. dissolves and stuff like that, but then a few movies happen and S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Like, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s not
you
in it.
didn't notice.
Yeah, like, who cares that S.H.I.E.L.D. dissolved, because we're dealing with Ant-Man now. But if it was a series that you could, you know, instead of just... I just feel like the Thor movies aren't Thor movies enough, because they're part of a bigger whole, and the bigger whole is too divided into their smaller chunks. And it's kind of a double-edged sword there. But anyways...
So now that we've talked for almost 45 minutes in our sentence or less,
so
now that the sentence or less is over,
put-ups and a put-down? I will say, to get to the movie proper, I am wholeheartedly fine with saying that this is a Seth problem and not a movie cinematic universe problem.
It's definitely a movie cinematic universe problem. I don't know if it's a movie problem, but
I can't be wrong. I'm so worried about that. It's not me who's wrong, it's the children. Oh, wow.
So we open up with Thor trapped. I think he sort of recounts what... No,
he talks to the skeleton.
Yeah, but I was going to say he recounts the other movies, but he really doesn't. He just kind of like...
He does not, because I was trying to figure out what the last thing with Thor happened.
Then he's hanging from a chain, and there's a goofy scene where he keeps spinning around, and...
So goofy.
Surtur keeps having to stop and start his little evil man speech because he's spinning around, and I was like, Seth is hating this.
I was.
Seth was grinding his teeth. By the way, did you recognize Surtur?
Surtur was Taika Waititi.
He was not.
That's what it says on the Wikipedia. That's why I knew that.
That can't be it. That was Clancy Brown.
Oh, he just did the motion capture. But Clancy Brown was his voice.
Clancy Brown is one of those voices you just recognize it immediately, and you're like, oh hey, what's up, Clancy Brown? Guess. Really?
Yeah.
You know who Clancy Brown is, right?
He's Mr. Krabs.
That is true. He's also Lex Luthor in the animated shows.
And Dr. Neo Cortex.
Anyway, Thor says that he's been having visions of Ragnarok, and that Surtur is going to be the one to cause it. And then we get a fun scene that you probably hated, where we get to actually see comic booky stuff happen with the hammer, and they get to actually do stuff.
I did not like this whole thing. And by this whole thing, I mean the movie. I didn't like...
If there's anything the 45-minute sentence or less told us, is that you did not like any of this movie.
I did not like when we stayed on the hammer and then it spun around in a circle hitting things. Do you think this movie was shot in 3D?
I don't know. Probably.
It felt like a 3D movie.
It was around the time where everything was in 3D, so probably. I don't know. I just thought it was fun. We got to see it flying around and about facing and coming back to his hand, and I thought there was a lot of fun stuff in this. And there's the giant dragon, and
probably not wrong. I just didn't like it. I don't know.
Surtur looked cool because he's slowly regenerating.
I know, when he's
from
voiced by Clancy Brown.
When Odin killed him, so he's got a
baby arm.
weak little
he's
arm
like
that
David
he's like
Cross
holding up
in
to.
Scary Movie
Yeah,
2.
all that stuff is like fun.
I don't know. I kept
don't
kind
know.
of being like, they kept showing the dragon, but it didn't matter because he was on the chain, and it didn't really feel like the chain was gonna break. I do like when Hulk puts his hammer, or when Thor puts his hammer on things and they don't move. When he puts it on the dragon, that was fun. Write that down. That might be my put up. I'm like desperately looking for it.
This movie is like so bright and colorful compared to the other two Thor movies. Even Valhalla. What the fuck am I? Asgard. Even Asgard is like colorful
sky
now. Yeah.
I will say, here's why I hated this scene. Because they played the Immigrant Song.
I do not care for the music choices in this.
And
it's like whatever, but I don't.
That was like an immediate, just like,
it.
Nope, I'm done. I hate it. I hate this movie. And I'm not a huge like Led Zeppelin fan or anything. It was just so, we spent the second Guardians movie talking about just like, it just feels like now we need to have a song. And it felt like that. I was like, why are they playing the Immigrant? I
don't disagree, because I don't care for it either, but I will say, like, it is a clear way to set the tone. Even more so than the jokey bit at the beginning. Like, that is where we're just like, this is just a movie. Like, I felt like this movie just oozes fun. Like, it just was a movie that didn't
That's
care.
probably
it just
true. I just sucked the fun out of it. I just hated all of the fun.
So Thor goes back to Asgard, where Heimdall is gone.
I hated this stuff. I hated Scourge just being like, look at my guns.
Scourge is whatever. But I don't know. It's
fun.
I just felt like the movie was fun. It was just like light-hearted and just like kind of like loosey-goosey. Let's just go for it.
You're not wrong. I just like hated
like,
every second.
This movie, more so like the other two movies didn't know what they wanted to be. This movie was just like, we got sci-fi stuff, we got magic stuff, and it goes full magic. Like that Doctor Strange stuff is more fun than anything that happens in the Doctor Strange movie.
Only because he had the latex gloves on.
Oh, and the latex gloves are great. His costume looks way better just with that addition.
I know.
And like, there's little things like the Stephen Strange thing is just like a world building thing or a world connecting thing that's just like, look, these are all together. But it also much like that song at the beginning says like, we're just having fun, just don't think too hard about it. Like, this is where it just goes like, magic is magic, and we just like go for it. And it establishes that magic is a thing, so that when real magic happens in these movies, you don't have to go like, so is this like the weird like science magic where they do magic, but it's probably like super science crap, because Natalie Portman pointed out that the Soul Reader was a gamma searching magna beam or whatever.
Okay.
I just... What?
No, you kept looking for jargon words.
But like, I thought all this stuff, I thought the whole bit with Stephen Strange was
fun. You're not wrong. I will say I think the Stephen Strange stuff was fine. It was probably good. It was probably
high praise.
It was probably good. I mean, the Immigrant Song totally kicked me out of this movie. I'm not gonna lie. That was like the worst choice they could have picked for me. That, and then
I'm gonna put that pull quote on the poster. It was fine, probably good.
And then later with Pure Imagination, I hate all of it. But the Doctor Strange stuff was probably fine. It's the
At least he does real fucking magic.
He does, and that's fine. Probably.
I still hate his stupid like sling ring. Let's spin my hand around. That stuff is dumb.
I didn't care. I don't know if this was. It feels cheap. It feels like it's weird for me to say, because I know I've gone on record a ton of times flopping back and forth between it's too self-contained or it's too connected to the whole world. This felt like, fuck it, we can get Benedict Cumberbatch on set. Let's do it. Like,
you're not wrong.
Like, nothing really mattered with it.
Like I said, I feel like it
was fun.
You could no, but like, I feel like that is a scene that is a clear way of establishing like full-on magic. Especially because these movies are so like grounded in their weird like pseudo sci-fi crap.
Well, and
Thor... is it the best way to do it? No, but I feel like his whole bit is the one that really throws in like magic is happening this time, and it's not going to be like a weird like Thor controls lightning, but is it magic? Like, it is full on like there's seeing ghosts and shooting lightning beams, and
well, I think that's
believing in yourself.
We talked about it with I think the first Thor, and it was a big point of contention on your end. What is Thor and Asgard? For all intents and purposes, for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're aliens.
Yes, but
are they aliens with magic? Like,
they are now.
Why? Because Doctor Strange does magic? But Scarlet Witch did magic.
No, I'm just saying Doctor Strange... Well, Scarlet Witch does not do magic yet.
I mean, she did magic things.
No, she did telekinetic things. At no point does Scarlet Witch do anything other than move things with her brain.
It sounds like magic. You're right. You're right.
Sure, but so is throwing a shield that comes back to you every time.
the
Sticking to
Scarlet Witch
walls
stuff
is magic.
From a point.
You're right. They're all wizards.
This
is the Marvel Cinematic Wizard Universe.
The Marvel Wizard Universe. No, the Scarlet Witch thing, I concede. That's more just me knowing who Scarlet Witch is. But
what is a giant robot made out of two geniuses' brains, if not
magic?
Wizard.
Anything that doesn't exist in my world is magic. But I don't know. It's something that, like, Doctor Strange feels like different magic than Thor magic, which is
sure
fair and fine, probably fine.
But I feel like it's also, like, if you have seen these movies, it's also a shorthand of, like, Doctor Strange in Doctor Strange isn't doing magic. He's doing super science. They basically explain it as such. Magic is just science that he doesn't understand yet.
I have already forgot that.
That's basically what they do. I mean, it's still magic, but it's magic in the same way that Thor was a god in the first two movies. He's a god because
it's magic in the sense that, like,
it's beyond what we can do now.
Yeah, it's like our normal, like, cell phone is magic to, like, a peasant in the 1400s, where it's just like it's beyond comprehension, but it's still science.
I feel like this scene in this movie takes that, you know, sci-fi Doctor Strange and turns him into magician Doctor Strange, who's doing full-on real magic. And, like, is that its purpose? No, it was probably because they got Benedict Cumberbatch to show up on set. But I think it is a much like the song at the beginning is a I agree, stupid shorthand for we're having fun now. This is a clear shorthand of, like, we're doing magic now. And if you've been in these movies and you know that Thor wasn't really magic before, and you know that Doctor Strange was barely magic before, you should know now, you should be able to understand now that magic is happening. So when you're questioning why Thor can just summon lightning later when he really couldn't before, it's magic. Why they can do this or that, it's magic. Why is there a giant wolf when before they were just kind of like space people? Because it's magic. How are there corpses wandering around and it's not like nanites on a skeleton? Because magic has happened.
And I guess for me, coming from comic books, the birthplace of retcons, the retcon feels weird here.
I don't disagree.
And again, I think it's because I look at this as, you know,
one entire unit.
Yes. It is the Marvel Cinematic Universe show. To me, it just kind of called it out more. And I don't know where I'm going to put this in the...
Unlike those 500 issues of Thor, where the 501st one says he's also an alien.
See, but I didn't read those 500 issues of Thor, so that's out of sight, out of mind. I don't know where this belongs in the episode proper.
Probably in a sentence or less. Probably
after we stop recording. But I touched on it earlier. I don't care.
At all.
Bye. I don't care about Asgard. I don't understand Asgard. I don't understand why, like...
Well, that's because you were thinking of Asgard as a place, but it's not a place. It's
No, I was thinking of Asgard. Hey, Korg's so fucking funny. But I didn't understand. I'm fine with the first two movies where Asgard is just like this crazy big mythological place. Cool, great. We discussed about how does it work? Are they actually in space? Can you, like, fly to Asgard? What is all this stuff? Whatever, I don't care. I can hand wave that. I can't hand wave a bunch of stuff. I'll hand wave that right now. But, like, in this one, Scourge is like, my father was a stone cutter. And it's like, wait, do, like, real people live on Asgard? And then they're like, what? Like, I was fine with Asgard just being, like, the giant city where Odin lived. But it's a whole planet now.
To be fair, and I don't know this for certain, I believe, like, in Norse mythology...
It probably is.
It probably is, like, they're all gods, but, like, not all of... Or they're all, like, divine beings.
But some gods are more godly than others.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, a weird thing to, like... It's a weird fridge logic to try and understand what Asgard is here. Especially with, like, you have all these refugees. And they're all just, like, running down cliff faces and stuff like that. And hiding in doors that exist outside the city proper at some point. I just, like, have trouble kind of caring about a place I understand so little about. It's really just like, that's where my buddy Thor's from. Okay?
I mean, maybe Asgard is the home of the gods, but there's also, like, other... Because, and this is me trying to give answers based on the information we're given. In Thor 2, what's his name? Hogun? Hogun, like, stays... Thor's like, you stay here with your people.
Who is Hogun?
Because we didn't write scenes for... No, what's his name? There's the Warriors 3.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
Fafnir, Bafnir, and Hogan or whatever. I don't remember anybody's name.
Mashak, Reshak, and a Wendigo.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
My joke's better.
Hogan, Dewey, and Louie. I don't remember what was yours?
I always love I forget their name. I haven't said the joke in a long time, so I forget their names. But who's like Mashrak, Seesaw, and a Bendigo? They're like
idea.
the three. Are they the three wise men?
I don't know.
This is still going to be funny in 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes.
Anyway, Hogan stays behind, and Thor's like, "Stay here with your people." And we were like, "Doesn't he live on Asgard? Why? What is with these people in huts?"
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
All right.
No, but the joke is Shadrach, Meshach, and a Wendigo, like a
Gotcha.
cannibal spirit.
I gotcha. It all comes back around.
The three Hebrew men are thrown into a fiery furnace.
Anyway, so maybe there are gods on Asgard, but not everybody is a god, but they're all like aliens from other
I mean, the answer is that they are aliens.
realms or something.
That's the answer. The answer is they are aliens, and Asgard is a planet.
Asgard. I don't even know if Asgard is a planet. It is a like city floating in space.
It is.
That also has forests. It's a city.
It has an
it's a city
atmosphere, it has
plus. It's a
clouds.
city and it's a city and its outskirts. But when we do see it, like when they fly back to it and fly away from it, it's not a planet. It is like those cliff. We saw it in the second movie and maybe in the first. Like
It's a flat Earth.
There are those like
It's a flat Asgard.
cliffs, yeah, where the water just like falls off the side of it,
Yeah, it's
into a black hole or
flat
something.
Asgard society. They're definitely aliens.
Oh, absolutely.
Thor is an alien,
I mean, he's an alien by definition of he's not from our planet.
but by science fiction definition too.
Yes.
Yeah. Scourge, he kills the dragon. The head comes in. Scourge he's wooing women, and they run away. And then he makes a joke.
We were already at Doctor Strange because they find
Oh
Loki.
yeah, because Loki
well,
is putting on a play. He's pretending to be Odin. I had no idea. I was like, when did Loki die? When?
Did you see who played fake Loki?
I don't know.
It's Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. Who played?
I don't
fake
know if
Thor,
anybody
or
was
who
playing.
played fake?
I don't know.
Yeah, Thor.
I don't know who it was. If it was anybody,
Do we have?
I would know. Probably would be somebody. Luke Hemsworth, Chris's brother.
Chris's brother. How nice.
Anyway, but he realizes that Thor is posing as Odin.
Loki's posing as Odin.
Loki is posing as Odin. It's also implied, not that it's like it's never explicitly stated outright that I know of, that because Heimdall can see everything, Loki as Odin stripped him of his role and banished him so that he couldn't oust him.
Yes.
Because Heimdall's on the run, and we don't really. It's never said why, but it's pretty.
That's like
easy
the
to
only
assume
thing
that
I
that's
remembered from the last movie. I thought so. Okay, I had no idea what was going on in this play. I know Loki was dying, and it was like wrong events from Loki's perspective. But again, I was sitting there and being like, when was the last time we saw Loki? I remember him on the cliff, and then Iron Man and Captain America fought.
It was so long ago.
I know. That's like what I remember. That's the last thing I remember from Loki. What was the last thing from Thor: Dark World? Right?
He was stabbed from Malekith.
Who the fuck
But
is
he actually
Malekith?
faked his-
Malekith is the giant.
He's
frost
the
giant.
two-toned. No, Malekith is the two-toned elf guy played by the Ninth Doctor.
Peter Capaldi.
Christopher
Oh,
Eccleston.
yeah, no, and then I forgot the Dark Elves. I totally forgot the Dark Elves.
And then we see a guard show up and say,
Off
Loki's gonna
screen,
die.
off screen. Loki
Then
came
he
out of
goes
his
and
coma.
tells Odin, and then that's all we see of that for a while. And then during it's probably the mid-credit scene or something. It might be at the end of the movie. It might be one of the mid-credit scenes. It's revealed that Odin is actually Loki.
I vaguely remember that now.
And it's implied that Scourge knew?
But the only thing I remember from all these things, other than Loki on rocks and then Iron Man and Captain America fighting, are Heimdall. I thought Heimdall was in hiding because he directly opposed Odin's orders.
He was removed.
Like, I didn't put any connection to like Loki. Then Loki banished him, so they didn't give this thing away. I was just like, yeah, Heimdall's on the run.
You might be right, but I think it would have been one of those things where it all would have been like if the Warriors 3 are still around, then so would Heimdall, because they did far more than Heimdall did.
Mm-hmm.
They got in the spaceships and started shooting at the other
What a fucking
Asgardians.
stupid movie. I don't need spaceships in Asgard.
You're not wrong that happened and you could make that connection, but I don't think that's the case. I think it is because Heimdall sees literally everything. Loki had to remove him so that he could not be
So Thor went back to
ousted.
Earth? What did Thor do at the end
Thor.
of this
No,
movie?
Thor.
What's he been doing?
At the end of his movie, he went back and he had a slow motion kiss with Jane.
Nice, hot.
But he says at the beginning of this movie that he was just out
and about
exploring the universe looking for the Infinity Stones.
Okay. Because I was wondering why, like...
And found none of them. So it was pointless that he was even doing that.
Good job, Thor. You're a real hero. I was surprised that he was like, okay, Heimdall, bring me back. And then we learned that it's not Heimdall. And I was like, why would he not know it's not Heimdall? Like, Heimdall committed treason. Of course he's not there.
Yeah, but so did everybody else.
Yeah, but it's Heimdall, as opposed to your future king son's best friends. Anyways, they go to Scotland. They go to Norway to find Anthony Hopkins.
Odin.
No, Anthony Hopkins. Odin's not there. They just go to hang out with Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins was like, I am not putting on all that shit again.
I hate all
he didn't even want to put it in for the opening scene. That's why they put him in his stupid bathrobe.
Anthony Hopkins hates this movie.
He was like, I'll put on the eye patch and that's
He's
it.
like, just use the worst fucking gold dust effect you got. He turns to gold dust after he says, remember this place, because you'll come back here for a bit as I tell you to use lightning powers.
And he turns to gold dust like Thor's mommy did.
It looks so bad.
I thought it looked fine.
I thought it looked so dumb. I don't know. And I don't know how much of this is, again, I don't care.
You hated this movie.
I don't know how much of it was, I just, like, don't care about Thor. I don't care about Asgard. I don't care about any of this shit. And it's like, oh my god, Odin's dead. And I was like, who fucking cares? Anthony Hopkins didn't even like being Odin. Who cares?
So
he almost died before, but now this time it's like for real. He went into the Odin sleep forever.
Because Loki put a spell on him to make him forget, and then put him in an old people home. But then the old people home was demolished, and
then what? They're just
Odin,
like, go to Norway, old man.
Well, he went to Norway because he put himself in exile, and then he's like, hey, also, you guys have a sister, and she's super powerful, and me living is the only thing that keeps her from getting to Asgard,
so
where she'll get even more powerful, so toodaloo.
I can't help you with this one, because we're all fucked.
Not my problem. Sins of the father, bitches.
How about fucking Odin and Hela were like the baddest motherfuckers on the world, in the realm, and then they painted a picture at the top of their Sistine Chapel of how cool their thing was. And then Odin was like, whoa, I'm not going to be such a bad guy anymore. Let's rock this up and then paint a happy picture. How about he paints a happy picture with him?
Put my new cool son on there.
How about they paint a picture where they all have like the gold medieval halos and stuff, but underneath it, Odin was like, yeah, and then give me a fucking baller sword. Make it all red. I want to see blood. A lot of blood and battles. We were cool. It's so dumb. Why would you paint that? Why would you?
To be fair, I would say, like, it's only dumb because of his change of heart. That is absolutely something that Hela would have painted.
That's like what you see on Skeletor's wall.
Yeah, because, like,
These are my
it is
exploits,
assumed that
He-Man.
Odin used to be, like, full-on supervillain, and then he was like, whoa, that's not cool.
How about instead of painting over it?
I'm going to adopt this blue baby. I'm a changed
He
man.
paid for that painting, so he wasn't going to paint over it. He was going to build another rock false ceiling over it.
Well, he was like, in case I
change my mind and I want to be a
she
blood
broke
first.
it, but she broke it, but there was like a clasp and it could just like swing down. And he was just like, in case I ever change my mind, like, I'm not going to pay that. Do you know how much it costs to get that painted? I'm not going to pay that guy to do it again. I killed him.
He was a demigod. As everybody,
He didn't make me look right, and I killed him, and I paid someone else to paint over the stupid ugly mug he gave me.
What a fucking baller mural. And then he painted over it with fucking Thor holding the goblet of life. Ugh.
So anyway, he dies, and immediately, Hela shows up, and she's like, "What up? I'm your sister. Throw that hammer at me. It's just stupid foam core," and breaks it.
Loki's like, Heimdall, get me out of Scourge. Get me out of here.
And we learn that apparently it's not an immediate effect to teleport. You just like travel through a tube, and apparently you can control the speed at which you fly through it because Hela starts coming in close.
And you can like knock people out of it?
Yeah.
How about when Scourge's parents gave birth to a little baby boy? They're like, name this motherfucker Scourge. He's going to be badass.
Well, for all we know, that's not his real name.
You think his real name is
Scourge.
Mark Scourgeson?
It's like his parents painted a mural of him, and it said, "Look at our little baby Lawrence." And then he was like, he covered it up.
His first word.
He got he got the job as the stonemason. His dad got the job as a stonemason to cover up the other mural.
He said
with the rocks to paint over it, and then Scourge went over and he was like, "My name is Scourge, and I'm gonna put this new mural of me holding two guns with two hot chicks in bikinis. It's chainmail bikinis hanging onto my legs, and there's skulls everywhere, and also...
Do you guys know Frank Frazetta yet?
Rock...
Make it look like that. Give me that Conan treatment.
Anyway.
Hella is hella dumb. Heyo. No, she's fine.
Her
But
makeup
really,
keeps changing throughout the movie.
I don't like Hella at all.
I don't have a problem with her because she is like so not what the movie's about. She's what the final act is about.
That's true.
She's what sets things into motion, and then we watch a completely different movie for an hour and a half, and then we come back to finish off her stuff. And she's fine.
She's like
just,
so
like,
one note. I mean, I know these are all like comic book movies, and it's not like Mads Mikkelsen.
She's better than Christopher Eccleston, like two-tone elf guy who's just like, I don't like everybody. Like,
I don't know. Hella to me felt...
She is one note, I
Hella to
agree,
me,
but like
and this is going to be a total like positive for you. I'm going to say a negative, and you're going to be like, yes, this was great. She was like a Saturday morning cartoon villain.
Yes, she's great because that's like what I was going to say. She is one note, but she is like the fact that she is one note is why Odin locked her away. Does that make her a compelling character? No, I guess not. But she's a fine villain to stand there and be like, "I'll get you next time, Thor."
She was so one note.
She's fun, especially when she shows up at the beginning, and it's partly because of the way the camera cuts it, so it makes it look more extreme than it is, but she stands like a Rob Liefeld drawing of a woman, where her hips are like completely like a foot offset from the rest of her body, where she is just leaning straight to the side.
I don't like her like put her hair back to make the helmet.
It's stupid. I also kind of love it because of how stupid
I don't like
it
her
is.
dumb like throw big rock spears. That's my move.
The knives, the like weird like shadow knives things are stupid, but it's whatever. She exists to be a thing for Thor to fight.
Yeah,
later.
her breaking Mjolnir was probably fine.
It is what it is. Like the fact that she's that powerful.
It's like a nice,
stupid,
it's like a nice way to be like, hey, like
it's
great,
like
we
the
got
villain that like in Justice League that punches out Superman first thing so that you know he's a big deal.
Yeah,
it's fine. It sets things into motion. Mm-hmm. Like, does it make any sense? I don't know. Maybe. Like we're told that like it seems to be implied that that hammer is super strong because no one else can lift it, so it's just implied that it would be super durable and everything. And the fact that she just crushes it,
yeah. So okay, is she worthy of the hammer?
It's kind of nuts. I think it's
because she can lift it.
I think it's literally just she's so powerful that it doesn't
register.
Come into play. Maybe it's a blood thing. Like maybe if
he
did that thing with I'm saying like maybe it's an Odin's blood thing. Like if he had done that thing at the beginning with Loki,
yeah, Loki's
where
not...
Loki's not blood. If he had done that thing at the beginning with Loki where Loki was still pretending to be Odin, if he had thrown his hammer and like held Odin there, I feel like Odin could have caught it or told it not to. Like he could have just like been like,
go away,
fuck it,
and
smacked it away. Like I feel like he has that kind of power, and since Hela is supposedly more powerful than him,
than all of them combined.
Like, I feel like maybe Thor's mommy could do the same thing. Like, she could have lifted the hammer
and I guess
without
you could
being worthy.
argue that she didn't lift the hammer; she just stopped the momentum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's also a crucial distinction there. But like, I think when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter. It's just she is powerful, so she needs to break it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and it works into his thing where he's like, where Anthony Hopkins tells him that like, you're not the hammer, you're the lightning. Anyways, Loki is like, get me out of here, and then Thor's like, Loki, the Bifrost Bridge doesn't work like that anymore, and then everybody gets into the thing. Well, I guess it always worked like that, didn't it? That's how Jane got. Well, no, I guess she was holding on to Thor. I don't know, it's magic.
Yeah, it's all just kind of like what
they fight in the Bifrost Bridge, which I didn't think existed before.
Yeah,
it was kind of neat.
She knocks him out.
Watch her just push Loki out of it. I don't know, like that was kind of like a neat visual.
The fact that they both like fall out of like they go to the same place at different times is fine, but weird. I feel like they would. I understand. Like I'm fine with the time dilation thing where it's like, you know, that 2-second trip is only relative to them, so you know Loki could fly out of that thing 5 minutes before Thor and
Jeff
land
Goldblum
2 weeks
does
earlier.
have the throwaway line where he's like, time works differently here.
Time's weird here. My thing is like, I don't know, where are they moving spatially? I assume across the universe, so like
they say that
why would they both
Sakaar
land on the same planet?
They say that Sakaar is like on the literal opposite end of the universe from Asgard.
But they both land on Sakaar, which is ruled by Jeff Goldblum, who is being Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, he does a good job. He chews that scenery well.
There's that weird like Willy Wonka ride thing.
I hated that.
I thought that was goofy fun.
I hated it.
But like I said, everything kind of worked for me. I liked all the stupid nonsense.
Jeff Goldblum chewing the scenery worked for me in a Saturday morning cartoon thing in the same way that Cate Blanchett didn't work for me. But I really didn't like the Pure Imagination song. Yeah, I hated it.
I guess Jeff Goldblum isn't a Saturday morning cartoon. He is like the polar opposite of a I don't really care if I'm here or not.
He's cashing that check.
From Odin, where Anthony Hopkins is just like, I'll put on the eye patch and that's fuck all I'm going to do.
Can you use CGI for all of me?
Whereas Jeff Goldblum was like, I'm going to show up, but
Jeff Goldblum was taking the blue lipstick thing from the makeup artist and be like, I got this.
He brought his own, like, they didn't... They had this whole thing where they were like, you're going to look like this. He's like, no. I brought my own robe.
No, look at it. I
got these samples.
You were going to put me in that? No, look what I brought from home.
I guess before we get to the Sakaar stuff, because the movie basically just like goes there for a while, Hela goes to Asgard, immediately kills the Warriors 3, except for Hogan. I'm still not 100% certain that's his name or not.
Yes.
He sticks around for a little bit longer, enlists Scourge to be her enforcer.
Executioner.
Her executioner. What's her name?
Keith Urban.
Sif is nowhere to be seen. She takes the Undying Flame or the Eternal Flame or whatever the hell it's called and uses it to raise an army of the dead, of all the dead buried underneath Asgard, as well as her...
The Fenris Wolf.
Wolf. And everybody comes back as like a spooky skeleton, except for the wolf, who's just like a full-on wolf, even though it was dead for a long time. Thor's that wolf's mommy.
I guess I did...
Or not Thor, Loki. Loki's that. Loki is that wolf's mommy.
I guess I didn't realize that the Fenris Wolf was dead. I thought he was just like, this is just where I sleep.
She says something about like, what did they do to you? And I'm pretty sure he's like rotting. I thought he was like a skeletal.
I thought he was just like a wolf.
You might be right. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure it's dead. But anyway, by the way, speaking of Sif, but not directly about Sif, there's a throwaway line when they're back on Earth before they go to Doctor Strange's where some lady is like, I'm sorry you and Jane broke up. And this is the thing about that I don't care for these movies, where a universe exists that doesn't, because everything that happens we watch in these movies, nothing important happens outside of these movies. Nothing. Even Thor going to look for the Infinity Stones doesn't matter because they didn't find any of them, so it didn't happen. Do people know about Jane? Do people know about Thor?
Yeah, they're
like,
on
is that
cover,
public?
They're on magazines, dude. The Avengers are the biggest things to happen.
Thor is only on the planet to show up to fight his brother, and then he shows up in the second movie, and then he shows up again for his second movie, but he's only on that planet long enough to have a fight in London. I mean, I guess maybe afterwards.
He saved New York from aliens.
But then he immediately leaves.
Yeah, but nobody cares about that.
He's not doing talk shows and interviews. I did like though when he was on Earth, he was dressed like a normal dude and he had
a Mjolnir
as a umbrella and he
that?
slams it on the ground.
Can you just make it look like anything?
I don't know if that was him doing that.
Well, no, because Loki wasn't there when he was at Doctor Strange's.
But I'm sure it still
works.
Like if Loki put the spell on
what
him.
What if Thor needed to use it as a hammer? Isn't it more versatile as an umbrella?
Well,
it's longer.
I'm pretty sure if he needed to use it as a hammer, he could have just slammed it on the ground and it would turn into a hammer like it did when they were in.
Like it did when it did in the movie.
Wherever, Norway. Like they did when the movie did it.
I'm sure he could just slam it on the ground and it'll turn into a hammer like they did in the movie.
I'm sure he could just do the thing that the script says it needs to do. Why not? The script says it. The only thing that doesn't have to listen to what the script says is Jeff Goldblum,
who wrote all of his lines.
No, I'm pretty sure he just showed up.
You guys can film. Well, why don't you guys come to my place? You'll film it here. I got a big crap of junk in my backyard.
Look at my giant skyscraper I built in my backyard that has the Hulk head on it. We didn't finish it, but I'm sure we could.
You guys can like CGI.
We could have us half finished.
Look, I have this cool hologram thing. You remember when they made Tupac a hologram? I got one of those. Me. It's big.
Come check out my sex ship.
That was the only thing person laughed at. I sat on the couch with my arms crossed this whole movie, and then Thor goes, "Don't touch anything. It's the orgy ship." And Kirsten goes,
"Oh, that just made my day.
This is so fucking stupid.
So anyway, they're on Sakaar, where Thor gets captured by a Valkyrie who is named Valkyrie. I don't think she ever gets a name.
Thompson.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the character's name.
I don't think so either.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
Brunhilde.
But is it in this?
No, I don't think she's ever referred to as Brunhilde, but I am on the Marvel Cinematic Universe.fandom.com/Valkyrie.
Okay. Because I also wasn't... Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so she is there. She's all bitter and drunk, and she captures him and takes him to the Grandmaster, where he's like, "You're gonna fight my big boy. I got a big boy. He always wins fights. You're gonna fight him."
I should have asked Kirsten how this hit.
Win,
because I knew it was Hulk.
I was going to ask if I assumed you knew, and I didn't know if she had any idea. I think it would be really
Let me go check
just
it
because
online.
of trailers. Okay, go for it. I'll check Twitter. I don't know why I said it like that.
All right. I have consulted Kirsten, and she said, so she did not know it would be Hulk. She said she was honestly confused because she wasn't sure the last time we saw Hulk and why he would be there, and she felt it was shoehorned.
I don't feel like Hulk is shoehorned. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where you just gotta accept that he's there, but shoehorned isn't necessarily... I think he's in the movie, and it's organic enough. But I think it's also, like, I'm looking at it as a movie, like, I don't need to know, like... I think as part of maybe the rest of, like, part of the cinematic universe, there's a little bit of hoop jumping to figure out, like, how he got there. Whereas, like, as a movie that stands on its own, where I'm just like, does it give me the information on how he got there? I can fill in those blanks. It gives me enough information to know who everyone is and why they're where they are. Because, I mean, he gets as much information as Valkyrie, and just like Valkyrie showed up here, I don't know how. She didn't die when Hela killed everyone, and then she
flew
now.
a space plane into the Grandmaster's house. No, I don't know. I agree. I think if, outside of the cinematic universe, Hulk probably doesn't feel shoehorned. I can kind of see where she's coming from. And, like, hey, I, too, was like, wait, when was the last time we saw Hulk? How did he get here? Like, yeah, the movie doesn't care about that. And, I mean, coming from somebody who knows, like, World War Hulk and stuff, like, I think he fits. But it is just kind of something that you have to be like, don't really care about this. And it's like, okay, but, like, you made a whole movie series of 17 movies wanting me to care about this. But anyways, they fight, and everybody loves superheroes fighting.
I think this fight is fine and fun, but I think it's also because it's not just like it's not like a misunderstanding. Testosterone. I think part of it is because it's the Hulk, and it's just like, I don't know, the Hulk is pure aggression, and he just like he fights, and I think it's a fun fight.
I think it was better than the fight between Captain America and Iron Man when Loki is on the rocks.
I think there's a lot of fun stuff in it. Like, and again, when you look at it as like two superheroes fighting, sure, it's two superheroes fighting, and I don't need to watch that. But I think it has a point in the movie, not a huge one. It's not like you couldn't remove that scene, but it has an existence in the movie and a point.
Knowing it's Hulk,
and it's also
it was.
And like if it's just like, I don't know, it's the hero of the movie fighting a big monster, and then later in the movie they come to an agreement. Like it's a fun fight. There's a lot of like I said, like big, bombastic superhero stuff happening, which isn't just like Iron Man shooting lasers and Captain America throwing a shield.
Well, and
like it's not as exhausting and stupid as the fight at the end of Civil War or everything. It's just like, I don't know, it's just like, it's not overly long either. I thought it was a fairly quick fight for all things considered.
And knowing it was Hulk, I thought it did well at Chris Hemsworth being like, hey, we're friends. That's a friend of mine.
Apparently that work friends line was from a kid who like visited set.
I think I remember that too. What I didn't understand...
I think that's a fun joke.
And this, like everything else in this movie, this scene was probably fine. I mean, I will agree that it was one of the better, like, hero versus hero fights, and it made more sense than all of them and whatnot. What I didn't understand was why Jeff Goldblum was like, he can't kill... Like, why does he love the Hulk so much? He's just a Hulk fan, I guess. Team Hulk.
I was thinking that when he did it, where I was like, what does he care? Like, I'm sure there was a previous... Well, I was thinking, like, I'm sure there was a previous champion before Hulk came in and beat him. Like, did he care that much then, too? But I think it's also, like, he told Thor that Thor could leave if he beat the Hulk.
Oh,
That's what he tells him when he's in that chair. So I think it's some of it is just like he's a Hulk fan and he wants Hulk to win, and Hulk is his reigning champion, and that's good for business. Although I'm sure like someone dethroning the reigning champion is also good for business. But
and I guess like I don't know, the Grandmaster.
I think it's like really whichever answer satisfies you, that's the answer. Because
the movie doesn't
because I don't think the movie really cares.
Well, I mean, it's not like the Grandmaster necessarily feels like what he says is binding. Like if he tells Thor that like, hey, if you beat my champion, you can leave. Like, I wouldn't bat an eye if he beat Hulk and was like, Yeah, I'm not gonna let you leave.
You're the new champion.
Like, it was a little too on the nose for me when Loki like is glad that Hulk smashes Thor like he did in the like. Do you remember in the Avengers movie?
I thought it was funny when he stood up and he was like, "Yeah, that's what it feels like."
It just felt like too on the nose. I also hated it, literally everything about this movie, and you thought it was a lot of fun. Anyways, are they like mummifying Thor afterwards?
I think they're just putting bandages over him.
But they were like doing it next to Hulk's hot tub, like recovery hot tub.
That's because they needed to have a scene
What is
together.
this room?
That's Hulk's bachelor pad.
The glass. It's
Because
not like
he's the
there's like a
champion.
laser wall door that they can't get out of, but then he
Yeah,
just
I know.
bursts through the glass anyways.
To be fair, there's like a laser door, but even without the glass, like I'm sure like anything around that laser door Hulk could bust through. Fuck, Hulk could probably just run through that laser door.
Fuck, Hulk throws like a bed.
Hulk doesn't care,
Hulk
though.
throws like the top of a bed at the door, and it doesn't cause the laser thing to show up.
Or is the laser thing something that happens because Thor has that thing in his neck?
What is that thing? How come he's like the only one with the thing in his neck?
Later on, we find out that a couple other people have them.
Yeah,
in.
but like,
But like when they take it out, he just takes it off. But when everybody else takes it off, it's got like a big old vampire bite on their neck.
but how come like Hulk doesn't have one?
Because Hulk wants to stay, and also because Hulk. I honestly would not be surprised if that thing couldn't pierce Hulk's skin.
But is Valkyrie the only one with those?
Well, Jeff Goldblum uses it, so I assume it's just. I'm sure all the prisoners with jobs have them.
No, well, like,
Have them in,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
there, and I'm sure like she has.
so that's just the thing the
Valkyrie has
Grandmaster gives everybody that his.
Yeah, maybe the guards have them.
Because you'd think you'd put it on Hulk. Granted, you could argue that it can't pierce his skin, but I don't know.
Also, like
I feel like you'd want to
Thor
just like
tries
put
to
him
like
on
rip it
everybody.
out, and
It hurts him.
he tries to rip it out. I feel like Hulk could also like rip it off or smash it if he needed to. Like he could just swat it like a mosquito on his neck, and it would.
I know it's kind of.
Hulk's one of those like indeterminable, like how strong is he, and it's just like he's strong as he needs to be, but it's also like he's so strong that I could just believe that if the movie wants me to fill in the blanks, I could just be like he's too strong for it, whatever. But he's also like completely pacified anyway.
I do think it's weird that for a movie that's like Thor is not the hammer, he's the lightning, to be like, look at Thor get subdued by lightning because it's like an electrical shock.
Yeah, I thought that the first time, and then I was just like,
Yeah, I mean it's a totally like
whatever.
it's a total whatever thing, but it was something they thought of, and your brain did. Then they go to the Quinjet.
Oh yeah, they
well,
go to the
I guess
Quinjet 'cause
Valkyrie
that's how
shows
Hulk
up.
got there.
And she's mad that she doesn't like Asgard anymore because her friends died.
Her friends died specifically because of Hela, so now she has a personal stake in things. But yeah, they go to the Quinjet because that's how Hulk got there. Even though everybody is just like scrapping
How did
everything
Hulk
around
get
there,
there
the
in the
Quinjet
Quinjet
has been
though?
untouched.
I know it doesn't matter, but
He's been there for more than 2 weeks.
2 years.
Because Loki says he has never seen him. Okay, yes, he's been, well, presumably,
the last they saw of Hulk was 2 years ago.
the last thing Banner remembers when he woke up was Sokovia happening. So unless he was hulked out for a long time before getting to Sokovia, it seems like they got to Sokovia. Hulk stayed in Hulk mode because it was fight or flight, and then he just never unhulked.
It was just something that's like, I mean, I kind of agree with Kirsten where it's just kind of like, how did he end up here from Sokovia? Did he just like fly the Quinjet into space for millions and billions and trillions of miles?
Can the Quinjet
Fly in
fly
space?
into space? Isn't it just a jet? Because I like how when Hulk's like, I got here on the Quinjet, and Thor's like, oh my god, yes, we'll use the Quinjet to leave. And I was like, but could you? Like, would that
Yeah,
work?
we saw Doctor Strange at the beginning. There's magic.
But that's different than the
Is it though?
the Quinjet. The Quinjet, you're right. The Quinjet is everybody in the Marvel universe
We
is a
talked
wizard.
about this, yeah.
And the Quinjet
It's just
is
another
is
wizard
transportation spell. It's just another spell in their arsenal,
I'm gonna pump you full of spells.
in their spell book.
Anyways, Thor gets into the Quinjet, and then Hulk ruins it, and then
We'd see a clip of Black Widow.
yeah, she's like,
Telling Hulk.
it's nighttime.
Sleepy,
Go to
to
sleep.
sleepy. Good night, Moon. Good night, Hulk. Which I don't know if that was filmed for this or if
I
that
think
is
that
the
was just the
same
same
video used in. It was like clearer. It was like really clear, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's probably a clear version.
They
because
have
I
to
thought,
film it. They're not gonna film it blurry.
Yeah. No, you're right, but it was like I don't know. It was just something weird.
I
where
don't
was
like-
Is that from the movie?
Not Banner Hulk. I don't like permanent Hulk.
I do.
He was obnoxious. He was like,
He's like we talked about it in the first movie. And I said I didn't like when he talked because he sounded stupid. I like I like a Hulk that talks, but I also like an animalistic Hulk, at least like a dumb Hulk. I like this like big dumb talky Hulk. He talks kind of like a toddler. I like when he has his little tantrums. Those are all fun.
I know, and they all sucked.
It makes him, I guess, it makes him way more interesting than just like big dumb angry man.
I don't disagree with that. Oh, I do.
Like it makes him interesting. It makes him like he's not like another quip machine. He's different than the like he's a goofy.
I guess between that
but he's
and
not
like
the same
Banner,
goofy
I would
joke
rather
as everybody
Banner,
else.
which I didn't even really care for Banner in this.
I didn't care for Banner because he was so stressed out. He was stressing me out.
I didn't care for Banner because
I was getting anxious.
I don't know. He just seemed. I don't know. He just seemed like a different character. Like.
I mean, everybody's a little different in this. He's more...
And that's fair, because time has moved on. I mean, yeah, like...
Well, but also, like, in this movie, everybody is the comedy extension of their other character. They are the comedy, like, what is the
comedy
term?
relief.
No.
I'm always wrong when I try and guess. Pagliacci.
It's the character from Simpsons.
Flanderized.
Simpsons. Yeah, they're like the comedy flanderized version of themselves.
Yes, and
where they take all the things that are that character and then they turn them into comedy things rather than just like turning them like, you know, you take the angry character and you make them angry.
Has a
but now it's
problem
like you
with
take the angry. I think if you're gonna like flanderize someone, this is the more interesting way to do it. They're at least like fun. Like
and
Hulk
the cop out
does
answer,
fun stuff that I laughed at.
The cop out response to that is, I'd rather just didn't flanderize them.
I don't necessarily disagree, but at the same time, like these characters are so not really much of anything. They're so one note that the flanderization in this direction makes them interesting.
And I guess the cop out answer to that is like, I wish they just made these characters interesting.
Sure, but for me, this does it. Whereas
I don't know. I didn't like.
For you,
I didn't like Hulk's like stupid tantrums and just like.
I liked it.
I don't know.
Fun.
I guess I like Banner more than Hulk, and I think the interesting thing for Hulk to me is that like his Banner just being like, I don't like this. I don't want this to be a thing. I like
the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing of Hulk, where Hulk is just a big monster who comes out when you need to have the action scenes, is super boring to me. And while I agree that Banner is on paper the more interesting character of the two of them, I don't want Banner to be the one that I watch because the Hulk just exists to scream and smash things. In this, like, Banner's annoying because he stressed me out because he was just so stressed the whole time, and like it was a lot of like, we don't have time to catch you up, so it's going to be a comedy thing that we can't catch you up on what's going on. But like, I don't know, Hulk was a character in this movie. Like, he was a character as opposed to an angry thing. In both Avengers movies and Incredible Hulk, the Hulk is not a character.
And I guess my argument is that he's still not. Like, yeah, he talks and he makes jokes, but like...
But he is a character. He has wants and desires. He has a personality.
He has wants and desires? What's his wants and desires? To stay there.
He wants to be loved, or at least he doesn't want to be hated. Like, are they great? No, but like no one is. Tony Stark doesn't have.
That's the
character.
problem. Is
he
that
fucking sucks.
That's the problem. Is that like, you're like,
I
you gotta take
don't
what you
disagree
you can get.
Here's the thing, like, there's a lot of take what you can get in my argument because I know you don't like this, so that's how I have to phrase it. I'm not taking what I can get. I like this. I think this is an interesting character. I would watch a movie with this Hulk.
I just don't think there's enough
Do I
there.
necessarily need a Hulk movie? No, but I think there's enough there to make something interesting out of it. And I think in this movie, as the side character that he is, there is interesting stuff there. I think he's an interesting character in this movie, and I think the interesting character of this movie could be an interesting character of another movie. I think there is a character here. There's not a lot to him, but it's
I haven't
there.
read World War Hulk in forever. I don't know if I'd like it.
I mean, this is not World War Hulk. World War Hulk is smart Hulk. He's smart, angry Hulk.
And I guess like that's how you make a good Hulk. Like
I disagree. I don't find smart, angry Hulk that interesting. I think
Child Hulk is good.
Weird toddler Hulk. That's what this is. He's like weird toddler Hulk who is angry, but like, I don't know, like is it, the movie doesn't focus on it because it's not a Hulk movie, it's a Thor movie. But the idea of like Hulk wants to stay here because here people don't hate him. He's not a monster here. Like, that's interesting. Does the movie really care? Not a lot. It's just enough to give him a personality and a reason to be antagonistic towards Thor when Thor wants to leave. And like, when Thor tries to leave, Hulk throws a tantrum and says, no, friends stay. And like, is there a lot there to go off of like their friends? Not really, but that's kind of part of the bit, is like, they're not friends. Like, Thor has to pretend they're friends in order to get Hulk to come along. I mean, I'm phrasing it as a take what you can get, and in a way, I am saying take what you can get.
And it's something that
like there is a character there.
We have a reason for why we think that way, and I don't think, you like it because it's fun, and you like the character, and you think he does fun things.
This movie makes Hulk more interesting than any of the 3 movies he's been in have. He is way more interesting here. And to be fair, like,
I would agree. And
do you want a tiny spoiler?
No.
Super tiny.
No.
Okay.
I mean, mainly because, like, this is where we're at right now. It's fine that, we can disagree and all that
We
stuff.
are going to come back to this later. I'm not going to say anything. We're going to come back to this later, and we're going to see where you
Here's
where you
how I'll
land
end
on it.
this, because this is how I end all of these things. Is this a more interesting Hulk than all the other ones? Yeah. Is it interesting to me? No. Could they have done it better? Yeah. If they, like, made a real scene instead of just, like, two flanderized characters make jokes at each other, would it be better? Yeah. Like, that's it. I didn't like it because I found him obnoxious. Yeah, there's a throwaway line where Thor's like, we're going to take it back to Earth, and he's like, nobody likes me on Earth. Or, I don't know, maybe Thor even, like, somebody says something about, like, nobody likes you on Earth, and then Hulk pouts. Like, yeah, if you I know it's Thor Ragnarok, it's not Hulk Ragnarok, but like a lot of these things, that could be an interesting thing, but it's a 2-minute line. And that's my
Sure, but I guess
problem
it's also a line that I don't feel needs more than that. It's kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, where Rocket has a 2-second line about being taken apart and put back together again. I don't need more
I
than
disagree
that. It
here.
tells me what I need to know. I know why he's upset. I know why he's frustrated in that moment. Same thing with Hulk. I understand why Hulk wants to stay. I don't need him to sit there and really dwell on the fact that people don't like him or that they do like him here. Like, I get it. Here, he's a celebrity. On Earth,
But I think
he's a
that's an
monster.
interesting thing that you, like, more so than Rocket's backstory or any of the Guardians' backstory. I mean, and maybe this is just because Hulk doesn't have a character. He smashes things. The interesting thing for me for Hulk is the tension of Banner turning into the Hulk. Like, Hulk is not what makes Banner interesting to me. But if you want to focus on that and be like, nobody really cares for the Hulk, you're actually kind of a liability. Like, I think that's an interesting story there to be like, hey, we're the Avengers and everyone loves us. But Hulk's a liability and kind of a nuclear bomb, and everyone's kind of worried about it. And Hulk takes offense to that. Like, there's a story there.
I don't disagree, but I also find it weird that you say, like, the interesting thing about Hulk is that he's, like, there's tension that Banner could turn into Hulk. Like, at that point, Banner is just a guy with a bomb, like an immortal man with a bomb strapped to him. And it's just like, that bomb could go off at any time. The bomb's not a character because the bomb doesn't matter. All we care is that the bomb could go off. I find that's stupid. You have a potential for a second character because that bomb is a character. That bomb has thoughts and desires, whether they are literally just like anger and smash, respectively. Like, there's more than him to the bomb. So saying that the Hulk just needs to be the tension that he could exist, then why have the Hulk? Why not just have Banner be a guy with a
Super
bomb jacket on?
Like, I mean, yeah, I would rather Hulk have a character. But as he's written, as Banner/Hulk is written in these movies, is not interesting to me. The interesting part of Banner to me in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Banner is kind of a straight man in a whole bunch of people playing superhero. Banner doesn't like it. Banner doesn't want to be a part of it. That's an interesting thing to me. He's the only one going against the grain.
I don't disagree, but I mean, I also see
You're giving me the same
I
argument I usually give you, where it's like, wouldn't you rather this? Yeah, but that's not what I get. But this is more than what we got before. Like, I understand your arguments are fair in saying, you're saying that Banner is only interesting because of Banner and Hulk is just like a total non-entity. Yeah, I am saying that. I wouldn't rather that, but I don't think, Hulk in this is better than nothing, which is what he's always been. But it's like, you can do like with so many aspects of all of these movies, you can do so much more and they don't. And that frustrates me a lot.
And I think that frustration is fair, and the fact that, like, you don't like his portrayal in this movie is fair, but I also find it's weird because we know, like, Hulk doesn't get a movie, and he probably never will, especially because
he got one of the best movies. Remember, I love that movie.
Especially because of the Universal deal thing, where there's, like, the reason he keeps showing up in ensemble stuff is because I believe there is something where the rights are very specific in that, like, as long as he doesn't helm a movie, they don't have to, I don't pay or something. I don't know. Anyway, part of it is the fact that, like, this is a character exists beyond this, and he's been done dirty in the past. But I find it weird that it's like, I don't know, in this movie he's a bit character, and in that bit he does exactly what he needs to do to exist in that small frame of reference that he has in this movie, and it's fun. We get to watch Hulk do Hulk stuff. We get to give Hulk some kind of personality. Give Banner, in this movie, Banner has nothing to do. He's just kind of there.
He's so dumb. Like with everything else in this movie, it's probably fine. If I watch it tomorrow, I'd probably be on your side.
If you watch it tomorrow, you'd be pissed because not only are you watching one movie a week, but you're watching the same movie 2 nights in a row. The Quinjet is broken, so
Hulk breaks the Quinjet.
Valkyrie changes her mind, decides that she will help Thor and Banner, and then she captures Loki, and they put together a plan because Loki knows the codes to get the Grandmaster's ships.
He can like get into
something?
he stole access codes.
I forget what. Oh,
They steal his ship and fly to the butthole,
to the devil's butthole,
which is hysterical.
which that's one thing that I was like, I don't care for that. I don't know. There's a big dogfight. I think in these movies that have a ton of chase scenes and dogfights, this one's fine. It's a little too long, but it's like interesting things are like different things are happening. It's not like in the boat chase thing in Thor 2 where it's just like, oh my god, it's still going and we're just watching lasers fly around. Like Thor and Valkyrie jump off.
They all do different things. And for as much as I always complain about visual exhaustion, I think as much as everybody was jumping around on flying ships, it was relatively easy to keep track of. I think it went on a little long.
I don't necessarily disagree. It's just not one of, like, most of these movies I watch these and I'm just like, oh my god, it's still going. And this one I'm just like,
It was a little
whatever.
eye rolly every now and then to just like watch these people just like jump from ship to ship and like.
I kept wondering how they were going to get back in the main ship. I was just like, you guys are like,
Kind
like the way
it was
back
kind of
there.
a little over the top for me. It also didn't help that this was where I felt the actual length of the movie and was like, oh my god, they still got to fight Hela.
It's when they cross through the butthole and they get to Asgard is when I was like, oh yeah, there's like the whole like final act still to go. I mean, I will say I like this movie. It is disjointed. The Asgard stuff has no connection to the whatever the hell that
Valkyrie
planet,
though.
Sakaar crap. Sure, but she's not actually directly involved. Like it's happenstance that she is connected to Hela's original attack.
So,
Which means she's older than Thor.
older than dirt. So, I don't understand.
Which is fine. It's just one of those weird god things where it's like, I don't know, you could walk, any of those people could be like old enough to be Thor's great.
Why does Odin age?
Or they could be like old enough to be like his son.
Why
At what point do you like, at what point do you become
old?
Elderly? Is it actually age, or is it like you have children and then once those children age into adulthood, you magically grow a white beard?
Sure. So here's what I don't understand about Asgard. Everything.
The short list.
Okay, Hela is like, we need to find the refugees. And then
Well, they don't care about the
need to
refugees
find Heimdall
directly.
for
They
the
care
sword.
about Heimdall because Heimdall stole the
Bifrost
sword that controls the thing, even though we learn in the first movie that also Odin's staff will do it. And so there's probably other things. You could probably get like a blacksmith
wasn't Scourge
to make
doing
something.
something?
That
I mean,
go
he
in
was.
there.
Oh, and
He
then
had the
Heimdall
sword,
stole. Yeah, Heimdall didn't steal.
Heimdall
he
stole the
it.
sword back.
So, okay, Heimdall has everybody in a giant room behind a stone door. Great.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're all like, this is where I'm keeping them. Great. But then Hela's like, go wrangle up all the refugees. And Scourge, I guess, knows where they are because he brings them all to the city? Or are these different refugees?
These are just the people of Asgard, I thought.
Okay, so Heimdall did not care about these people.
I think...
How did they know where Heimdall was if Heimdall didn't rescue them? So anyways...
They didn't meet him in the woods. We watched the kid meet him in the woods. Heimdall's awesome in this movie. We get to watch him fling his sword around
anyways,
and flip around, and he uses his magic sight to bring Thor to Asgard so they can hide in this dwarven mines.
So anyways, Hela, they're going to kill a Asgardian who may or may not have been taken from where they were being taken, where they were being held, that Hela didn't know. And then somebody says, nope, I know where Heimdall is. And then they go walk to the giant room behind the stone doors, and Hela shoots her shadow daggers in it, and then Heimdall just like leads him out the back, and then Hela opens the door and nobody's there, and she's like, oh, I guess they're not here. I guess maybe they lied. She doesn't look around, and the next thing we know, she's like in the palace.
I actually only faintly remember that. I remember her pulling the door down, and I thought like they were all running, and they were just like going further into the mines or the wherever that was to find them. But then Thor at that point goes back to Odin's throne, and he takes Odin's staff that we learned in the first movie could control, or maybe Loki's staff. I don't know whose staff it was that controlled the Bifrost, but I guess Hela doesn't know that. And he bangs it, and Hela and Scourge hear it, and that's why they go back to the throne. And I guess,
but she like turns around.
It's like an intercom system. Yeah, it's like an intercom system. I assume like that's just how, like, when it was Taco Tuesday, Odin would sit in his throne and bang. That's where I was just like, magic. Like the movie had done so much like magic wibbly wobbly stuff where I was just like, I don't know. I believe that there's probably some reasoning that Odin could go and sit on the throne and
like,
bang his staff
somebody.
and everybody in Asgard would hear it. I don't know if they teleported. I think he sat there and waited while they
'Cause
slowly walked back.
The way I took it, and it could have just been like a weird editing thing, she like turns around and looks at
She does
Thor.
turn around. No, she turns around and looks back the way they came, and then it cuts to Thor and her walking in.
I thought she turned around and saw Thor at the end of the hallway.
No, I don't believe so. I mean, maybe I'm the one misremembering, but I believe she turned around because she heard, like, the way I read it is he slammed that thing, she heard the sound, turned to look at it, and then we just do a scene change to her arriving.
Yeah, and like
back.
I said, maybe it was just weird editing where you're right and my dumb brain was just like, she looked back, but then the scene changed. And
Speaking of weird editing, there's a really weird cut for me when Scourge dies. Spoilers. Hela throws like a knife at him, but it cuts to him like already, like she flings it and then it immediately cuts to him already holding it in his chest and like leaning over, where it reminded me of like a movie with like practical props where like we can't endanger this guy by chucking a knife at him, so we have to like show him already holding it in him. It was weird where it just like there's like a bizarre cut where we didn't actually see the impact. But anyway, they have a little sibling spat.
they fight a little
And
bit,
they fight.
and Heimdall takes everybody to the Bifrost Bridge, and Fenrir's there, and the Skellies are there.
I think they're called Skellos.
They are.
She cuts out Odin's eye, or she
Thor's
like slashes his eye. Sorry, Thor's eye. Everybody.
Kamen Rider
Hulk,
Thor's eye.
Thor, they're all the same.
Is it like a Father, Spirit, and the Holy Ghost thing?
Yeah. Actually, they probably are, because then she's like, now you remind me of my Pip Pap.
You remind me of my father.
And then she like stabs him a whole bunch of times, and then she's like, I'm the goddess of death. Remind me what you're the god of. And then
He talks to Anthony Hopkins in Norway.
who says, I'm going to tell you all about your powers, but please do not make me put on all that crap again.
Can I just wear
like I said, I'll
button up?
wear the eye patch, and that's it.
Give me the fake beard and the button up.
I got a bridge game in 30. Gotta go. And then we cut back to her saying the same line again. And it's so you can have that, like, what are you the god of? And then he summons lightning. And it's like, that's the answer to your question. But it's weird that we cut back to her.
Yeah, it's not like we had it was literally like 2 minutes, if that. It wasn't like a commercial. I think this would have worked better had he not done it in the Colosseum.
I agree and disagree.
I think you need to show some of that there.
I think it's more impactful if he does it here first. But it does, like, it's a setup and payoff thing. I think it needed to be a little more where, like, rather than the big bombastic lightning thing that he does in the Colosseum, if instead he just, like, summoned a little bit of lightning.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But he basically had his powers from earlier. And it's like, yeah, I know he can do that. Especially since he has to go talk to his papa and be like, how do I do this? And he's like, remember earlier in the movie when you used lightning? Do that again. That was cool.
Why are you calling me back here? I took this eye patch off. I swear to God, I'm not putting it back on a third time.
There was one scene at the very beginning where you don't see, it's like from over Odin's shoulder, and I was like, there's no way this is Anthony Hopkins.
There's no way he's on
That's
set
like,
with everybody
if you're
else.
not seeing his face directly, you're not seeing Anthony Hopkins.
They filmed that scene at the beginning where talks to Thor and Thor holds his head in front of the hammer, and then they immediately changed him into his bathrobe, or changed him out of his bathrobe into
slacks.
some civilian clothes, and they went out on the cliff and filmed that scene, and then he was fucking gone.
I bet he wasn't even
He's like,
sitting.
Matlock's on,
I bet
baby.
he wasn't even sitting next to him when he turned into gold dust.
I bet he didn't even really turn into golden dust.
I bet that was CGI.
That's probably all CGI
movie
trickery.
magic.
Hollywood tomfoolery.
Anthony Hopkins is still out there roaming the streets.
Using both of his goddamn eyes.
Hulk has a bit where he's like, I'm going to tell you why I'm Hulk. And then he does like a weird swan dive out of the plane that looks terrible.
When he just like I knew it was coming. The first time I saw it, I knew it was coming. This time it's hysterical. And especially because it reminded me of, you had asked for that exact scene in the original Incredible Hulk movie.
Where he's like...
where he jumps out of a helicopter and you're like, why didn't we just watch him land like a fucking sack of meat?
Well, that's like what he does land
And then turn
as,
into
because
the
he
Hulk.
like turns into the Hulk later, I thought. Anyways, I don't remember that movie. I don't remember any of these movies. I will say, as someone who sat arms crossed during this whole 2 hours, I did smirk at that. I knew it was coming. It was dumb. It was after, like I said, I thought that was some bad CGI of him like doing this weird like little hop jump onto a obvious, pillow cushion thing. But there is a nice comedic timing and nothing really happening, and then him just slamming in. and I was like, I'll buy it. Give me my freaking change.
The Hulk fight's fun with the wolf. I mean, it's a lot of CGI nonsense, but I don't know. It's different. It's not just like a CGI robot man fighting a CGI flag man.
Yeah.
It's a big CGI monster fighting another different CGI monster. I don't know if I have
anything. I think the only problem I have, or at least the only thing I can really remember and call out, is
when they fall into that lake and it's only like 6 inches of water.
Yeah, especially since like in the first Thor movie, that was like certain death. Because like Loki was gonna like fall off the side, and everyone was like, if you fall off the side, Loki, you'll die. I didn't care for when Fenrir goes over the edge and Hulk holds on. I know there's not really any reason to deal with it anymore, but it was just kind of weird that he just like showed up later. He was just like in the background later.
Well, we watch him. I mean, we should watch him show, like, he jumps back onto the bridge.
Okay, well, I didn't watch that. The movie should have made me watch that scene.
It happens in the background because it's during
maybe that's what I'm complaining about.
And I mean, it's not like it's hidden in the background. It is specifically framed so that you can very clearly see him jump back onto the bridge in the back. It's right before he jumps at Surtur.
And I guess it's something that, like, I just imagine that the edge of the world was further away from the Bifrost Bridge.
To be fair, like, he fell, like, that happened, and then Thor awakens his powers, and then they fight against Hela for a long time, and then Thor tells Loki his plan, and Loki goes in his spaceship to the, like, a lot happens in that amount of time. So it's feasible that I mean, like we said, he didn't have to swim. It's 6 inches of water, so he just had to run awkwardly across it. So
he can do his big
back
leaping.
up on the bridge. I found it a little harder to believe when he just like, all right, I'm gonna grab you guys, we're gonna jump on that spaceship. Woo! It's like, I know he can jump super high and whatever. I'll take it.
I'm not gonna lie. I did not care for the Space Asgard. I know I love Cosmic Marvel. You hate Cosmic Marvel. I hate Cosmic Asgard. I hate Loki in a spaceship.
I like it here.
It's fun. I know. It's probably fine, but I hate Loki in a spaceship. It's stupid. Same thing with the spaceships and the Dark Elves. Like, ugh.
Oh, the Dark Elves, like, I'm fine with
the spaceship coming from somewhere else and them being like, we're just using other things.
Especially, like,
I don't know what else they would do.
I don't know. This is a weird thing where, like, you made the argument of, like, I believe Captain America would have just shimmied on into modern times and whatever. Like, he gets it now. I don't need to... He's not in the 1940s anymore. And there was a part of me when Thor's like, all right, it's just another spaceship. I just got to push the buttons. And
you're like, yeah!
Spaceship. And I was,
get him, Thor!
No.
Woo!
I was like, how would he know how to fly that? And I was like, I don't know. He was with the Avengers. Like, I'm sure they showed him how to pilot the Quinjet, or at least watched, and he like picked it up.
In like the 40 minutes he was on Earth?
I agree, but I'm just like, whatever. Especially because I was just like, whatever.
It's just a fun movie.
He can figure it out. Loki, however, like, Loki seems to travel. Like,
it
seems
around.
To be implied that, like, he goes to Earth and he knows what's going on Earth.
I just hate... It's less of me
there's that joke about Thor not really understanding how emails work. I feel like Loki knows... Like, Loki probably owns a cell phone. He probably has a PlayStation 5.
I hated that email joke.
I thought it was fine. It was cute.
I hated it because it is a joke that doesn't make sense, that was written because it is a joke. Because he says...
I agree, but it's also, like... It's supposed to be Thor being snarky, and he knows what an email is. He has no understanding of how it works. Like, it seems to be implied that someone could send him an email and then it would arrive to him on a parchment from a raven. And I was like, that's me justifying it. But I was like, I agree, it doesn't make sense, but it's also like, I believe that Thor just knows an email is a thing. He knows it means electronic mail. He has no idea what that means.
And I guess I did not take it that way. I think it works that way. I took it as him just being like...
Because it was him trying to be snarky.
That's fair. I was taking it as him at face value. But I don't think... The spaceships in Asgard is less about, like, how would Thor and Loki and all these Asgardians know how to use spaceships when they don't have spaceships and all this stuff. It's less of that. And it's more just I hate the juxtaposition of spaceships in Asgard.
Where the movies are now, especially with how this movie just kind of goes like magic and science fiction and I don't really care, I'm able to, like, I get where you're coming from, but I'm able to just kind of like turn off my brain and be like, yeah, they all get it. They got, swords and sandals, but Hogan also has a mace that he, like, can turn on and then the spikes pop out of it. And, they got, like, boat ship things that have cannons on it and they steer with a magic steering wheel, and I'm just like, whatever, like they'll all figure it out. I'm fine. Like I don't fucking care. Like that is no longer my problem.
I just like a sword and sandals. Asgard.
Once we hit space elves, and I was like, fuck you. The space elves have rifles, and I hate this. Like as long as it's not that, I'm just like, the Asgardians live in space. They don't use spaceships, but people probably show up. The Kree show up every once in a while for poker night, and they show up in a spaceship.
Yeah, I just don't care for. I like Asgard to stay. I mean, I don't like how Asgard is like a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I like how it's like...
You want it to be a part of the DC Cinematic Universe.
It's the extended universe. I like how it's part of like Thor's thing, and like that's where like that's like Thor's home base and stuff like that. I just don't care for it to be... You can just fly to it from a butthole. Like, what's the point of the Bifrost Bridge? I guess it's just like your teleportation thing. It's no longer like this magical mythological thing. It's just kind of...
What is mythology if not science that we don't understand?
And we've talked about like in the Marvel universe, like Thor is a literal god. Like how does that work with like any other religion? Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's a can of worms over there. But I like my Thor being mythological. And this kind of takes all that from it.
Oh yeah. So the plan is to take the crown of Surtur,
put it into the flame,
throw it into the eternal flame, and then he grows mega big.
I know this is not what happened, but this is a dumb thing where Hela is like, you guys can't kill me. And Thor goes, no, but he can. And then she's like, oh my god, he can. And then Thor and Valkyrie just like break the Bifrost Bridge, and she seemingly falls to her death. And I know that's not what happens, but it's just a weird thing to make a line that says, you can't kill me, and then have them kill her.
I guess I didn't read it as falling to her death. I thought, because they've already established they can't kill her, so it's just like, that's just another like hurdle. She's distracted, and now like if we had if they had said like, but he can, and then they turn and ran, she could have like thrown her super spikes at him. But if they break the bridge and she falls, then it's like, okay, she's not only distracted by him, now she fell down into the water and she's got to get up, so now we can make our break for it. It's the same thing as being like, what's that over there, and then pushing her down and running.
See, and I guess to me, like having it just transitioned to her and Surtur, I think is a smoother execution for me. I agree with you that it's kind of like a diversion, but it's just a thing to me. It's like they already fought each other a whole bunch. Like, what do I need?
I feel like if she would have just like turned and fought him, it would have been weird. I mean, I guess she needs to protect Asgard because that's where her power comes from. But I also feel like if she was just like, oh, fuck that, and then just like turned and left, it would have been weird. It makes it like kind of like when they were like, here's all the Thor stuff, but now we're going to another planet. Stop thinking about that for a little bit. And then you leave the planet and you're like, stop. It's like that in a microcosm where it's just like, there's this big Hela fight, but now Surtur's here. So like, stop thinking about that. She's going to go fight him now and don't care what they do. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. Whereas in this, it's like, she's distracted. We leave. So it's not just like, okay, bye. Instead it's like, we done gotcha. And then they leave. And it's weird. It's just like, that's how I like, in my brain, I'm just like, if she had just like turned and fought him, I would have been like, fuck you. Like, wouldn't she still like be like, you can't stop me, I'll kill you first and then I'll go kill him, or
well,
something.
And in my brain, he also like goes after her. It doesn't make sense in my brain either, but it's better. Hit me up, Paul Feig.
But yeah, they get in the ship and then they're like, now Asgard is on a spaceship and we're gonna go to Earth. And then in the mid-credit scene, they're like, we're not going to go to Earth because Thanos is here. And then in a post-credit scene, the Grandmaster gets like one more scene where he just like says some goofy shit.
You can't have a revolution without a person to overthrow.
Bada bing, bada boom. Seth, give me 2 bets to put down.
I'm going to say Jeff Goldblum. He was really chewing the scenery well here. I think he played the Grandmaster well. I think he did fun stuff. For a movie that I was like, this is the one with jokes in it. He felt natural. Maybe it's because he didn't have a character before, and so this is just like who he is, whereas everybody else was, like you said, kind of like a flanderized comedy bit version of him. But his jokes didn't feel like jokes. They felt like a character.
Jokes.
My second put up, I will concede and say I smirked when Banner got a concussion when he landed on the Bifrost Bridge. And so, credit where credit is due. My put down is going to be, I'm going to say the Immigrant song at the beginning, which put a total sour taste in my mouth. And just like, this is not the movie I want to watch right now. Like, just immediately.
My first put up is the Hulk. This is the best Hulk
movie.
movie.
I was right
out
that
of all
time.
the movies Hulk has appeared in. I thought the Hulk was fun. I know you didn't care for him. I like Jeff Goldblum, but he also like he was fine. Like I wasn't like yeah. Every time he showed up, I was
Was he fine or probably fine?
It's probably fine. I don't think there was really anything out of his like I laughed quite a bit in this movie. I don't think I laughed at anything with the Grandmaster. Like Jeff Goldblum's fun. Like he's fun and he's chewing scenery and he's like fun to watch. But I think the only thing I may have laughed at is when they turned on the sex machine thing and he was like, "It's my birthday." That was he like sings it really high and it's like goofy.
I didn't laugh at any
funny.
of his jokes, but I thought it was a good character, and he would, again, I think I am partial to people chewing scenery.
My second put up is this is the best Doctor Strange movie. That Doctor Strange scene is a lot of fun. It doesn't need to be in this movie. Like you could completely cut it out and the movie sits fine on its own. But it's a fun bit. He wears the gloves. He does real magic. He's just like he's not like he's a dick, but he's like a fun dick as opposed to like an annoying dick. I don't know. It's fun stuff. My put down is I had a really clear one earlier and I don't remember what it is. My put down is kind of how disjointed this movie is. It's not bad, but it's just like the Thor
Kind of two movies.
The beginning and the end are like relatively inconsequential. Well, no. The entirety of the movie, the middle of the movie, which is what the movie focuses on, is really inconsequential to what the movie is from beginning to end. And I think the worst part is like it ends really interesting with like everybody on Asgard is in a ship going to parts unknown. They're going to Earth, but like they're basically on a ship. They could go anywhere, but it doesn't even let you sit on that and be like, what a cool thing. Like the next movie could just be like Thor in space, Battleship Thor. That's really, really interesting. But then in the mid-credit scenes, it's just like, never mind, Thanos' ship is here because we're not going to get another movie before we have the next big Avengers movie, and so we gotta get to that. And so like that deflates a lot of this. It was the first like mid-credit scene that not only did it not make me excited, like even a little excited for something, it actively made me less excited. I was just like, that's what you chose for the like. We couldn't have had like a fun scene with someone else, or like they bump into a character we've seen, or we go back to Earth and watch what Doctor Strange is doing, or we get a clip of Ant-Man and Wasp because their movie I think is the next one. Nope. We just get actually I think the next movie is Black Panther. We just get that.
I will say, for being the Infinity Saga, and like I don't feel like it's, and maybe this is just me and how I take these movies in and how I hate them all. I'm like not excited for Thanos or all these little like what's this thing coming like. Early on, we had way back when before even Josh Brolin was cast, and we saw like a little glimpse of Thanos, and there was just like I feel like it was kind of too little, too early, done a bunch of nothing. Like Infinity War starts, I think, in 2 movies, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, I'll say like I personally like
when you were watching these live, for lack of a better term. I mean, were you like excited for Thanos?
No. I mean, I was excited because it was going somewhere and I didn't know where it was going, but no. I'm not excited for Thanos now. I wasn't really excited for Thanos then. I don't really care about Thanos. I don't care about Cosmic Marvel. When we had watched Avengers and you had mentioned that the original plan was apparently the Mandarin, and as we've been watching these and like the further we get into like the Thanos stuff happening, I was like, how cool would it have been to start smaller? Mm-hmm. But to go this big and like Thanos is just like not interesting to me.
Well, and I guess
no,
like,
I don't
out of
care.
17 movies, like working up to the like I don't know, to call this the Infinity Saga, I feel like is a little disingenuous. Like
it felt retroactively made. Like it doesn't feel like Infinity stuff really happens until now, Phase 3, when it's like actually like ending.
And even then, it's just kind of like now we call them the Infinity Stones in like throwaway lines. Thanos is really, I feel like Thanos is really only going to be a thing in his 2 movies. I mean, none of it's just like, again, because I kind of view these things as a series and an interconnected story. Like, it just feels like, I mean, I wonder if Kirsten even cares about like, hey, like this stuff's happening. Are you interested? Like, why would anybody be interested? Nothing's happening.
Yeah, watching these again now, it's interesting when you're not part of the hype machine, when you've already seen it and you know where it's all going, and you also just like, you're not waiting years for the next movie. Instead, you're just waiting 7 days. It's an entirely different beast. Like, I remember watching these back then, and it was neat to like, you'd sit until the end of the movie and Like, you'd sit through the credits and you'd be like, oh my God, what little tease are they going to give us next? And they'd, you'd get a little thing of so-and-so doing something. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait until I get to see that movie. And you'd go and see that movie. And then by the end of that movie, you don't care anymore because you're excited about the next one. And now I'm just kind of like watching them as movies and just kind of like going through it as a thing. And no, I don't care about Thanos. Never did. Never will. Seth, where do you put this in your ranking of every Marvel movie ever?
Well, Andrew, I put this at number 8. This is right after Doctor Strange, right above Avengers Age of Ultron. Like I said, I think I hated this movie, but I guess I didn't hate it as much as Avengers Age of Ultron, or the Iron Mans, or Thor, or... It's in the top half, which, I mean, I don't know. It's like when I watched all the Jurassic Park movies, and I was trying to decide if Fallen Kingdom was better, or if Jurassic Park 2 was better. And I was just like, I don't know, like...
Fallen Kingdom's awesome. Or awful.
Well, the thing is like, after Jurassic Park, they're all kind of awful.
I remember you defending Fallen Kingdom, and I thought that was one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen.
I think it has
I couldn't stop
stuff
talking about it. After it was over, I called people, and I was just like, I gotta tell you about this movie. They direct a dinosaur with a laser.
That's fucking
on a gun
stupid.
To say that it's better than a gun.
It's stupid. It's so dumb. I think there's
like
some decent stuff
they
in it.
Have it go down a catwalk.
But it is not worse than Jurassic Park 3. But again, like...
I don't remember
It's just like, you have Jurassic Park and Jurassic World... because it's like the same movie as Jurassic Park, just not as good. And then you just like, yeah, either Lost World or Fallen Kingdom is next, but like next only because that's the other option. If there were other movies involved here, they'd be way down the line. Like, it's not, yeah, it's next in line in these Jurassic Park movies, but there's a big gap.
I surprised even myself, and I've been saying this with the last couple movies where I've been kind of struggling figuring out where I want to put things, and it's mostly like I just kind of like feel it out in that moment and I solidify it there, and there's a couple that maybe I would have moved, but they are where they are now. I have Thor Ragnarok at number 1. I was really thinking about it, and I was like, I would watch this movie again over Homecoming. I like Homecoming, but I think Homecoming is carried mostly by some really good scenes and the fact that I really like Spider-Man, but I had a lot of problems with it watching it again.
Whereas this was just something you could watch and enjoy.
Yeah, this movie has a lot of flaws, but I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's breezy. It's easy to turn on and just kind of watch it. I have Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man Homecoming, and then Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in my top 3. And I always used to put Winter Soldier in my top 3. And
look at you now.
Honestly, like, I don't know. I would probably move Homecoming down. It's weird. It's... Thinking about these, like, as I watch each one and kind of reassessing, it's weird. But, like, right now, like, I think this is the most fun. This is the most Marvel, the most comic booky. This does the most with, like, the expanded universe.
I think those are all fair points.
Breeziest. It checks off a lot of, like, the broad boxes for these movies to be the best one so far.
Well, like you said, I think, in a vacuum, I think it, isn't weighed down too much by needing to do other things or any, like... If you just kind of watch it as its own thing and going from there, I think, yeah, you're in for a fun ride. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you like this, tell a friend. If you didn't, then lie to a friend. Check us out on Twitter at SoHowAbout. You can find me on Twitter at SethKumpf. You can find Andrew on Twitter at TessuDownist. And subscribe to us on YouTube at SoHowAbout.
And join us next time when we do this once more with interference.
Watcher.
Seth, now the mics are off. What are we watching next
Well,
week?
Andrew, I'm glad you asked. We're going to be watching Black Panther. Oh, shit. No. Give me another thing. Hold on.
Good, because you would have recorded on your end, but you cut out, so I don't know what you did. I just heard at one point.
That's what I did. How about we've been at this for 2.5 hours? Okay. You know how before we're like, let's make bits, and then we're like, no, because bits are stupid. Let's just say shit, because that's funny.
Now you're like, here's my
Well,
bit.
it needs to be a bit, because, like I said, you have work you got to do. All right, you want to lead me in?
Seth, now that the mics are off, what are we watching next week?
Well, Andrew, I'm glad you asked. We're going to be watching Black Panther, and he's got the power, and he's got the moves. And he's going to rescue you.
Don't you worry, the courage on your side.